Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Rainbow District School Board regular board meeting for December 6, 2022. Just a reminder that we're being live streamed tonight. And first, we'd like to read our acknowledgement. The Rainbow District School Board would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional ancestral territory of the Anishinaabeg, including Anishinaabeg, Anishinaabeg, and Wahnapitae First Nations. We would also like to recognize that we are situated within the Robinson-Huron Treaty Area of 1850, and we want to recognize the inherent rights of the Anishinaabeg that have maintained these lands from time immemorial. Roll call, Director.
Trustee Dubosky sends her regrets. Trustee Farrell.
Present.
Trustee Gibson.
Present.
Trustee Cosmerly.
Present.
Trustee Morrison.
Present.
Trustee Dewar.
Present.
Trustee Hunda.
Present.
Trustee Corbier Addison.
Present.
Trustee Clement.
Present.
Student Trustee Quincy.
Present.
And Student Trustee Trudel.
Thank you, Director. First on the agenda, we have a motion that the agenda for the regular board meeting of December 6th, 2022 be approved. We need a mover, please. Trustee Gibson, seconder. Trustee Cosmerly. Any questions? Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement.
In favor?
Trustee Corbier Addison.
In favor?
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor.
Student Trustee Quincy.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. We go to B on the agenda, preliminary declaration of pecuniary interests. I see none. We go to C, presentations tonight. The LaSalle Volleyball OFSA group, presented by Director.
Thank you, Chair Clement. We do have some very special guests here tonight. So we're honored to have the new OFSA champions, the LaSalle Senior Boys Volleyball team, joined by their principal and their coach and several members of the team in the audience. So we're quite thrilled by that, and we'd like to start by just wishing all of them the very best in their future endeavors and thank them for their excellence this year, and pay particular attention to their coach, who has been outstanding throughout his career, certainly not only at the high school level, but at the provincial level in volleyball as well, being recognized as Coach of the Year in the OCAA as a men's and women's coach in the same year. So we're so fortunate to have the talented athletes here that we have tonight and their incredible coach. And with that, I'll turn it over to their principal, who will introduce them, and we'll have a chance to meet our new champions.
Inviting us this evening. The boys and Mr. Beausoleil are honored to be here, as am I. I just wanted to share a few words about Coach Beausoleil. He started teaching in his career 32 years ago, and within that time frame has coached at LaSalle Secondary School for 12 years. In that time, they have received 12 city championship banners, 1 second place, 10 NASA championship banners, 3 OFSA medals, 1 AA bronze, and 1 AAA bronze. The boys today were greeted with the students with the whole student body engaged in an activity to share their excitement and support of the time and commitment that the boys have given to volleyball. So at this time, I'd like to call up Mr. Beausoleil, who will share a few words with the 5 players that we have with us tonight: Hayden Rady, Owen Pollock, Kel Bast, Noah Squire, and Tim Lalonde. And when Mr. Beausoleil is done, Hayden will say a few words. So come on up.
Thank you very much for having us. We're very honored to be here. I just want to congratulate these boys, a very, very special group of boys that I've had the opportunity to coach since Northeastern. I'm lucky enough to have some of them since grade 3. But all 5 of these boys have been with me since Northeastern, and then I've been lucky enough to have them at LaSalle as well. Last year, we had a close match to get into the finals. We lost 15-13 in the 5th. So this year was their redemption, and they didn't drop a set, and very, very proud of them. Not only of their talent, but the way they held themselves in every game, the way they behaved. It was really nice to watch them have fun when we weren't playing, when they were throwing snowballs at each other, still being kids outside. And when we defeated teams, they didn't celebrate until we won the OFSA Gold, obviously, but they were, when they beat teams and the score wasn't close, they didn't gloat. I had a lot of pride watching these boys play. So that's it for me. Thank you.
First off, I want to start by thanking Mr. B for his amazing commitment and dedication, not just for this year, but for the past number of years to help this team become the first boys Sudbury High School volleyball team to win an OFSA championship. We've had the pleasure of being coached by Mr. B for the last 10 years, and I can confidently say that there is no coach more committed and dedicated to his players and the sport of volleyball. Just to show how hardworking he is and committed he is, here's Mr. B's normal day, Monday to Friday, is being at Northeastern before 8 a.m. where he teaches and coaches at least 2 more teams. He then drives straight to LaSalle Secondary School to coach our team until 4:30, then goes to coach his men's and women's Cambrian College teams for the rest of the night. I believe he gets home around 10:30 at night and then does it all over again for the rest of the week. Not sure how he has done this for all these years, but he has. The 5 of us here have been truly lucky and fortunate to have been coached and taught by Mr. B for the years we have, and to end our high school careers on such a high note and win the OFSA championship together is something we will never forget and will cherish for the rest of our lives. This year has been very special, as we have returned to normal and playing in front of a crowd with fans and family made it more energetic, and we could feel the energy which helped us feed off and push us to bring home the gold. The atmosphere in the schools and the support from our own players on the bench was unforgettable. I don't think anybody on our team will forget our change room atmosphere and our favorite song, Jump Around. There are so many highlights to the season alone, from our long trips to Chatham, almost not having a ride home, and having to spend a night in a very sketchy motel in the middle of nowhere, but it was one of the funnest times I've ever had. We also won both of our tournaments in North Bay, and none of us will forget the epic semifinals game against Horizon to move on to the city championships, and then to win OFSA and NASA without dropping a single set. What a season. However, I am sure if you ask each of us here, the most special part of winning OFSA was getting a huge hug from Mr. B after winning, and seeing his face and knowing we made him so proud, and just that all the hard work really paid off. That's all for me.
Thank you, team. And it does take a team led by a great coach. Thank you so much. Does the trustees have anything to say or any questions? Mr. Farrell.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say a personal congratulations to my dear friend Dale Beausoleil, and I know how hard he has worked over his career as a volleyball coach and a basketball coach and a teacher, and it's really, really well deserved. And I'm so very pleased that you won the OFSA championship. I also like to say a huge hello and congratulations to my buddy Hayden Rady, who is the same age as my son Wilson, and they've grown up playing sports together in competitive hockey and basketball and volleyball. So just a great congratulations to each and every one of you. Well deserved.
Trustee Morrison.
Thank you, Chair Clement. I too just want to ditto much of what Trustee Farrow just said. Want to congratulate Dale Beausoleil again. And Dale, you know I've mentioned this personally many times, but I've had the opportunity to see the results of some of Dale Beausoleil's work with students at many schools, from Marks Day to C.R. Judd to Northeastern, and of course now with the Lancers. But he does it as his principal job and also as his side kick stuff as well. And thank you for what you've done for the Cambrian College program, Dale. Much appreciated. As Director Bouchette also mentioned, I'm one of the fans that does follow the news stories of your accomplishments, Dale. So congratulations again. And I know you know this, but I need to say it again. You have made a difference. And congratulations to all of the Lancer athletes. And thank you for your courage for being here tonight and sharing your story with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you again, guys. Cherish this. You'll forever remember this. Trustee Honda had a few words.
Sorry, thank you, Chair Clement. I just wanted to add my thanks to Dale. We go back a number of years. I've seen you many, many, many times on the courts. I want to thank you for your dedication. It's people like you that surely make a difference in the lives of so many of our kids. And I just want to say that I'm a proud grandmother of a Lancer for the first time this year, and I'm going to tell you the whole school was so proud and so excited, and just thank you for all that you do, and congratulations, boys. I know it takes a lot of work, and it was an incredible job. Good for you.
Thank you. Trustee Addison.
Thank you. I was at the NOSA finals on Manitoulin Island when the boys from Horizon were playing against Manitoulin, and there was it was tremendous play to watch. I've been a volleyball player for years and played at Cambrian College, and I just wish you guys the best in your future endeavors. Continue with your sports at the next level and keep pushing on. I'm so glad that sports are open to the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much, guys, for coming. Appreciate it, and good luck with your future. Director, Food Drive.
Thank you, Chair Clement. So at this time, Superintendent Fisher will share some words about our food drive. It falls under some of our priorities of providing that caring place for our students to achieve their best, and there's some wonderful initiatives happening in our schools, and I'll turn it over to Superintendent Fisher at this time to start that discussion.
Good evening. The Rainbow District School Board has a long history of supporting those in needs in the communities that we serve. As we approach the holiday season, our thoughts turn towards families who may require support with meals and other needs. One of the initiatives in which the Rainbow Board has proudly participated for many years is the Edgar Burton Kids Helping Kids food drive. We have two guests joining us to speak about this year's campaign. I am delighted to introduce Brad Smith, Acting Vice Principal at Confederation Secondary School, who is leading the food drive on behalf of Rainbow Schools. Mr. Smith will speak to us about how the food drive began, share fundraising results, and highlight creative ways schools are encouraging donations. Joining Brad later in the presentation is Kim Boulanger, Principal of Churchill Public School, who will talk about one of those creative ways, a food challenge that her staff members have issued to other schools in the board. I now turn it over to Brad. Welcome.
Thank you, Superintendent Fisher. I'm happy to speak about this great initiative happening in our schools. The food drive is named after Edgar Burton, who worked at Inco, now Valet, divisional shops for 36 years before retiring in 2009. Edgar was deeply touched when his daughters asked him why anyone would have to go hungry. The simple and sincere question motivated Edgar to start the Business Employee Christmas Food Drive. His passion and strength of character developed this food drive into one of the largest food drive campaigns in Canada. After his passing in 2010, the Sudbury Food Bank renamed their Christmas campaign the Edgar Burton Kids Helping Kids Food Drive. First launched in 1987, Edgar continued to run the food drive for 22 years. In 2009, a year before his passing, Edgar introduced the Kids Helping Kids program involving elementary schools in the collection efforts. As of 2021, the Edgar Burton Christmas Food Drive has collected over 1,500 tons of food. The Edgar Burton Food Drive accounts for approximately 1/4 of Sudbury's food bank's yearly needs. Rainbow District School Board has been a food drive supporter for many years. In addition to helping the community, students gain valuable leadership and civic responsibility experience through their participation in the various food drive activities. In 2021, staff and students raised $39,529.61 in cash donations and 7,993 non-perishable food items. Combined, this totals an equivalent of 245,171 non-perishable items. Schools accept non-perishable food items and cash donations through School Cash Online. Schools use a variety of ways to increase these donations. They canvass neighborhoods and local businesses, engage in school-wide challenges, and reach out to their communities through posters and posts. The poster on the left is from Llewellyn Park Secondary School. The social media post on the right is from McLeod Public School. Some students sell arts and crafts to raise money for their food bank. This year, McLeod is selling tree ornaments. Through the food drive, schools have also embarked on community partnerships. The 2nd Battalion Irish Regiment of Canada helped box all of the non-perishable items donated to Confederation Secondary School during last year's food drive. The Irish Regiment helps out with delivering items for many Rainbow schools to the food bank. This year, students from Confederation Secondary School returned to a long-standing tradition of canvassing door-to-door in the neighborhoods surrounding the school. More than 110 grade 9 to 12 students were bused to surrounding areas to collect non-perishable food items. In the background on the right side of this image, you can see a thermometer showing the progress they are making in reaching their goal of 7,000 non-perishable items. And here we see 2 images from participating elementary schools. On the left is a poster by Princess Anne Public School that challenges their students to bring in specific items each day of the drive. On this particular day, the students are asked to bring canned vegetables. And to give you a sense of history of this initiative in Rainbow schools, on the right is a photo showcasing Coppercliff Public School in 2011. And as previously mentioned, some schools participate in challenges and competitions to help promote the food drive. I'd now like to introduce Kim Boulanger, principal of Churchill Public School, who's going to speak to us about the Churchill Food Dare Challenge.
Thank you, Brad. 2 teachers this year from Churchill Public School, Cheryl Teolis and Quinn Buck, have issued a Food Dare Challenge to their co-workers and students in the school board. Food Dare has 3 components. There is the school-to-school challenge, there's a class-to-class challenge, and a friend-to-friend challenge. In each challenge, participants pledge to follow through on a consequence. For example, this year, I have challenged Carrie Monahan, who is principal of McLeod Public School, as part of our Food Dare Challenge. We have agreed that the school that brings in the most canned food items and monetary contributions, then the non-winning school will have to wear the school colors, all of the staff, and we are going to do, whichever school is the non-winning school will then do a congratulatory message and send that to the winning school to be played for the staff and students. In the end, the big winner, of course, is going to be the food bank, and we are going to have some fun along the way. I would now like to play a video that Quinn Buck and Cheryl Teolis have created for the Food Dare Challenge for you.
Time to get our drive on, Rainbow.
We're driving for kids. We need you to help feed Sudbury.
Let us explain.
Yes, why it's so important to us.
A group of smart research people got together.
And they found out that 1.5 million Canadians were using food banks this year.
Whoa, that's a big number with a lot of zeros.
For every 100 people who use the food bank, 9 of them are grandmas and grandpas.
And 33 of them are kids. It's happening where we live, in Sudbury.
Sudbury food banks normally support 8,500 people per month.
Oh, my head. I'm not okay with that.
It's time to do something, Rainbow.
Let's help put food on the tables in Sudbury.
Here's how.
Two schools challenge one another as a whole to see who makes the greatest contribution to the food bank. The school that contributes less than the other follows through with the contract and the agreed upon consequence on Food Dare Day.
Or class to class challenge. Two classes challenge one another as a whole to see who makes the greatest contribution to the food bank. The class that contributes less than the other follows through with the contract and the agreed upon consequence on Food Dare Day.
Or two friends challenge one another to see who makes the greatest contribute to the food bank. The friend that contributes less than the other follows through with the contract on and the agreed upon consequence on Food Dare Day.
We need you to participate
In the Food Air Challenge. Who doesn't like a little challenge once in a while?
Let's fill the shelves of our local food bank and make sure nobody goes to bed hungry.
Rainbow schools are going to make a big difference in Sudbury.
So let's get started, Rainbow.
What are you waiting for?
Thank you. I'm now going to turn it back over to Brad.
Thank you, Principal Boulanger. We can't wait to see the photos from this year's challenge. The food drive is important to our community and is a wonderful way to teach students about the positive impact of giving to others. And through this initiative, our students learn values which are part of our mission of enabling students to become confident, caring members of society. And this brings our presentation about the Edgar Burton Food Drive to a close. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustees, any comments? Trustee Honda.
Did you call on me, Chair Clement?
I did.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. I just want to thank everyone. It takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment, and particularly the staff, but how valuable lessons that we're teaching our little ones, because as you all know, I firmly believe we have a lot more to teach than just academics, and this is a wonderful endeavor. Rainbow has done wonderful, and I want to thank you for making me a little teary-eyed tonight with that video. That should honestly go on social media. It's amazing, and I think it's a wonderful thing for the community to see and to get involved with. And I can't thank you enough for all that you do, and thank you for spending your time and coming and presenting to us tonight.
Yep, it's back. Thank you, Trustee Honda. Trustee Farrell.
Yes, good evening. I couldn't let this one go by because this one is near and dear to my heart. I want to say a huge hello to Kim and Brad and thank them so much for the work that they continue to do with the Rainbow Schools in being actually a community leader for the Edgar Burton Food Drive. You know, I was really lucky enough over many years to work as a principal and work with the Egerburton Food Drive. And I may be one of the only people in this meeting that actually have met Eger personally way back in my years at Princess Anne, probably somewhere around 2000 to 2003. And Eger and I actually developed a great relationship over the years. He was a very kind gentleman, understood what it meant to be part of the community. His motto was always one more can. Each and every year we wanted to get one more can to the food drive. So I guess the only thing that I want to say is that I'm so pleased to see how this has really grown in Rainbow over the years through the work of Brad and Kim and many other dedicated staff in Rainbow Schools. You know, the learning for me on this is always that one voice and a student's voice can make a difference in our community. And this is what the Egerburton Food Drive is all about. And for me, service education is the way that we teach our kids to be really, really good community members and do the right things in our community. So once again, I just wanted to say thank you to Kim. I'll say go Chargers, go over at McLeod. And nice to meet you, Brad. And keep up doing the great work. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Trustee Farrell. Trustee Quincy.
I just wanted to add in, yesterday we had a Senate meeting, and for thank you to the staff that came to present today. I always go around and ask what are the exciting things going on in the schools, and I would say 90% of the senators, the first thing that came up, hands shot in the air, was the Egerburton Food Drive. And so just a huge shout out because the students really, I could tell, felt empowered by the good that they're doing and are really excited. And thank you for all of the support from every staff member that helps, because I know from personal experience from students, you know, talking and things like that, that it really does make a difference in how a student views their community. And so thank you for coming to present. And I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And again, thank you, Brad and Kim, for all the work that you do. I'm a big watcher of CBC Radio. Every day so far in the call-in shows is about food drives. And one question comes up over and over again: why? We live in a rich country. But thanks to the goodness of all the people and the students, we do our part for the food drive. Thank you so much. Next one. Student.
Thank you, Chair Clement. Next up, we have student achievement. We'll be talking about our EQAO and OSSLT results. And I'd like to begin just by saying thank you to all our presenters here today, and also to everyone involved in the work that's being done to support student achievement in Rainbow Schools. As you know, it's not been time over the past several years without challenge. And despite that, you see how not only our athletes from LaSalle have risen above challenges, our staff and students are working together to provide food for our community through the food drive, to overcome challenges. And we're also working through some of the challenging times of COVID and some of the issues that's caused over time to work through challenges to improve student learning. And despite some of those challenges, you will see some celebrations tonight that show us that we are able to rise above some of the pieces there. There are certainly some pieces that we have to continue to work on, and regardless of how well we do, we'll always try to do a little better each and every year on behalf of our students, working with them. And you also see that there are some structural changes to some pieces, such as grade 9 math, that are part of our long-term planning in terms of where we're going with strategic directions, how we try to move forward, and some elements and subsets of data that the ministry has chosen to release or not to release. And should we get extra information over the course of time, we'll be happy to have additional information on our results. But what we have tonight for you is an overview, and we hope that you see that there's a great deal of hard work being done to continue to improve student achievement in our schools, and I can't thank our presenters enough for their preparations that made tonight possible. So with that, I think I'm turning it over to Superintendent Noble.
Thank you, Director Bourget. Good evening and welcome. Tonight, we're pleased to share with you the 2021-2022 2022 EQAO results for Rainbow Schools. EQAO stands for Education, Quality, and Accountability Office. It's the provincial body that administers student assessments to determine how well students are achieving curriculum expectations. Overall, Rainbow District School Board has much to celebrate within the provincial context. We have the top results in all English language boards, public or Catholic, in Northeastern Ontario, in grade 3 math and in grade 6 math, as well as in grade 6 writing. Our most impressive gains, in fact, our best results ever, are in grade 3 reading, in grade 6 reading, in grade 6 writing, and since the year 2009-2010, the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test, or the OSSLT. To put our results in a provincial context, students in Rainbow Schools held or improved their results in 5 out of 8 assessment areas, while the province held or improved their results in 4 out of 8 areas. Another important fact to note is that our results are within 3 to 5% of the province's results in 5 out of 8 areas. As always, our assessment results are used to enhance student learning. We ask 2 important questions: how are we doing, and what can we do next to improve student learning? Joining us tonight to report on our student achievement results, our student success lead, Maureen McNamara, Principal of Program, Dan Cozier, and Principal of Special Education, Colleen McDonald. We would be pleased to take questions throughout the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. In many of the slides this evening, we will be looking at graphs comparing trends over time. It should be noted that this year's primary and junior assessments differed significantly in format from past years. EQAO has moved towards a fully electronic assessment. While students did have the option to respond on paper to some questions, many questions could only be answered electronically. Along with the change of format, the content was delivered differently than in the past. Not every student received the same questions, as the test was adaptive based on student input. As well, students had access to a number of tools built into the e-assessment platform, including text-to-speech, a highlighting tool, and activities to help them remain calm and focused. The Rainbow District School Board results appear in blue, and the provincial results appear in red. As a general reminder, the Ministry of Education has set level 3, 70% to 79%, as the provincial standard. In all slides referring to grade 3 and grade 6 results, you will notice that there is no data available for 2014-2015. This is because no EQAO assessment took place in English public boards across the province that school year due to provincial job action. Additionally, no data is available for 2019-2020 or 2020-2021, as the assessment was not administered during the period due to the pandemic. 835 grade 3 students fully participated in the primary assessment of reading. This year, we reported a 2% gain, while the province reported a 1% decrease. This aligns Rainbow closer to provincial results. Additionally, Rainbow was the second highest performing board in the Northeast region, just 0.1% behind the next highest achieving board. We attribute this continued success to our focus on foundational literacy practices, as well as timely, effective intervention for students who require additional support.
In this slide, we have data representing grade 3 students with special education needs, excluding those identified as gifted, who achieved the provincial standard, which is level 3 and 4 in grade 3 reading. This is the first year we are reporting on the results for all students with special education needs. In the past, we had the capability to extract students with a learning disability within the board and province, and that process has now changed. Students with special education needs include all students who have an individualized education plan, including those with non-exceptional individualized education plans. So this category incorporates students who have been identified as an exceptional pupil by the Identification Placement Review Committee, or IPRC, with any exceptionality recognized by the Ministry of Education, and also those who do not have a formal exceptionality but still require accommodations within a non-exceptional IEP as determined by their school. 147 grade 3 students with special education needs participated in the grade 3 assessment of reading. These 147 students represent 18% of the total number of grade 3 students who participated. As you can see in the graph, 50% of our students attain the provincial standard in grade 3 reading. We are 2% higher than the province. It is also important to note that the remaining grade 3 students with special education needs attained a level 2, which is just off the mark of reaching the provincial standard. We certainly celebrate this and attribute it to our school staff delivering strong early reading interventions such as Haggerty Phonemic Awareness, Lexia Core 5 Reading, Leveled Literacy Intervention, and of course our Empower Reading program, Decoding and Spelling. I'm not done yet. The last time we presented student achievement, we shared results for students with a learning disability in reading, writing, and math. This slide demonstrates our past journey in grade 3 reading, board versus the province, for students with a learning disability in grade 3. With the new EQAO platform, starting with the 2021-2022 data, we will now be presenting achievement results for all students with special education needs, as I previously mentioned. For context, we will continue to share past slides for each achievement area as we go through the presentation.
(833) grade 3 students in Rainbow Schools fully participated in the assessment of primary writing. Both the province and the board are showing declining results. The board experienced a 5% decrease in the results for primary writing, while the province recorded a 4% decrease. In our primary classroom, daily writing remains a focus, coupled with explicit phonics instruction to support students who are developing their writing skills. It is important to note, as stated previously, that the format of the test changed significantly this year, being administered entirely online. While students did have the opportunity to respond to some questions in a more traditional format with pencil and paper, all the questions were read from a computer screen, and some questions had to be answered electronically. Due to the change in format, EQAO has not released any individual questions this year, nor have they released results for individual items. As such, we are not able to determine the specific areas of need for our students within the EQAO assessment. However, we will use the data provided by EQAO in combination with classroom assessments to determine next steps and supports for students in writing.
145 grade 3 students with special education needs participated in the grade 3 assessment of writing. These 145 students represent 17% of the total number of grade 3 students who participated. In the graph, you can see 43% of our students attain the provincial standard in grade 3 writing, which is 4% higher than the province. Once again, many of our remaining students with special education needs are achieving just below the provincial standard at level 2, and we continue to support our students with daily writing coupled with explicit phonics instruction and targeted small group intervention to develop their writing skills. This slide illustrates again our journey in grade 3 writing, board versus the province, for students with a learning disability in grade 3.
(833) students participated in the primary assessment of mathematics. There was an increase of 1% in the number of grade 3 students achieving at standard or above in mathematics. This aligns with the increase in provincial achievement. Rainbow District School Board remains the top performing board in Northeastern Ontario, with the highest rate of students achieving at or above provincial standard. With an ongoing focus on sound assessment and instructional practices, we hope to see continued growth over time in mathematics.
145 grade 3 students with special education needs participated in the grade 3 assessment of mathematics. These 145 students represent 17% of the total number of grade 3 students who participated. In the graph, we see that 26% of our students attain the provincial standard in grade 3 math, and we are 3% lower than the province. Once again, We are hopeful as many of our students with special needs are achieving at level 2, which is just below the provincial standard. So we continue to support our students with an ongoing focus on sound assessment and instructional practices. And of course, we hope to see continued growth over time in mathematics. The last time we presented student achievement, again, we shared the results for students with a learning disability in reading, writing, and math. And this slide demonstrates our journey in grade 3 math, board versus a province for students with a learning disability in grade 3.
"800 grade 6 students participated in the junior assessment of reading. There was a 6% increase in student achievement in this category. This is greater than the 4% increase experienced provincially. As demonstrated in this graph, this brings Rainbow Schools almost equal with the provincial results. The board continues to offer tiered supports to students. With a focus on solid classroom instruction, coupled with more intensive support for students requiring additional help with their reading, students are meeting provincial standards with a high rate of success.
187 students with special education needs participated in the grade 6 assessment of reading. These represent 23% of the total number of grade 6 students who participated. 63% of our students with special education needs attain the provincial standard in grade 6 reading, just 1% lower than the province. We certainly celebrate this, and we attribute it to our school staff delivering strong reading intervention programs, again, such as Haggerty Phonemic Awareness, Lexia Core 5 Reading, Leveled Literacy Intervention, and of course, Empower Reading. Again, the last time we presented student achievement data, we shared results for students with a learning disability, specifically in reading, writing, and math. This slide demonstrates our journey, grade 6 reading, board versus the province for students with a learning disability.
"798 students participated in the junior assessment of writing. With an 11% increase in students achieving at or above the provincial standard in writing, Rainbow District School Board had the highest rate of achievement amongst boards in the Northeast. This increase in achievement brings us almost directly in line with the provincial result of 84%. Daily writing remains a focus throughout the system. A well-organized and designed literacy block is key to ensuring ongoing student achievement and growth. With the support of our literacy coordinators and consultants, strong literacy instruction continues to be a priority in Rainbow Schools.
There were 186 grade 6 students in Rainbow Schools with special education needs who represent 23% of the total number of grade 6 students who participated in the EQAO assessment of writing. 59% of our students with special education needs attain the provincial standard in grade 6 writing, just 2% lower than the province. Once again, we continue to support specific intervention for students with special education needs, along with a classroom focus on daily writing. Strong literacy instruction and small group skill-specific intervention always remain a priority across the system. This slide illustrates our past journey in grade 6 writing, board versus a province for students with a learning disability in grade 6.
"794 grade 6 students participated in the junior assessment of mathematics. In 2021-22, students in grade 6 achieved at a slightly lower rate than in 2018-2019, with 36% of students scoring at or above standard, a decrease of 2%. This mirrors provincial achievement, which also decreased by 1%. Although Rainbow District School Board is the top achieving board in Northeastern Ontario, there is still much work to be done. As indicated previously, EQAO has not released individual item results, so we are using this data in combination with information from classroom assessments and teacher observations to determine next steps for mathematics instruction and programming. We remain focused on fact fluency, daily mental math, and building student mathematical knowledge through problem solving.
There were 184 grade 6 students with special education needs who represent 23% of the total number of grade 6 students who participated in the EQAO assessment of mathematics. 11% of our students with special education needs attain the provincial standard in grade 6 math, which is 10% lower than the province. But in math, we continue to focus upon good daily math programming, again incorporating fact fluency, mental math, and building student knowledge through problem solving as we strive for improvements. This slide captures our journey in grade 6 math, board versus a province, for students with a learning disability in grade 6, and as previously indicated with the new EQAO platform, starting with the 2021-2022 data, as of this year, achievement results will include all students with special education needs.
This year, 905 first-time eligible grade 10 students fully participated in the grade 10 literacy assessment, a graduation requirement. Rainbow District School Board experienced an 8% gain, while the province experienced a 2% gain. These represent our best results since 2009-2010. And students in Rainbow schools recorded the best results of all Northern Ontario public English language boards. We attribute this emerging success to the hard work of our teachers and our professional learning opportunities in literacy, which were finally focused on identifying the skill gaps of our students while ensuring interventions were specific and making a difference for our priority students. Our schools have been implementing deeper assessment tools such as Lexia Rapid Assessment and the Fontes and Pinnell Benchmark Assessment System to identify the learning needs of our students. We have followed up with the implementation of level literacy intervention and empower reading programs targeting specific decoding and reading comprehension intervention strategies as identified by student needs. This year, we are focused on continuing this work and building capacity across the system.
As Maureen just shared, 905 first-time eligible grade 10 students fully participated in the grade 10 assessment. Of those students, 229 had special education needs who participated in the OSSLT. Our board achieved a 56% success rate, while the province achieved a 57% success rate. We continue to build on identifying skill gaps through grade 8 to 9 transition meetings to ensure proper supports are in place for grades 9 and 10. These supports include level literacy intervention, empower programs to help students improve specific decoding and/or reading comprehension through timetable classes or intervention strategies. Intervention strategies include deeper assessment tools and additional supports with the classroom teacher, the student success teacher, resource teachers, tutors, and educational assistants. And once again, the last time we presented student achievement data, we shared results for students with a learning disability who had participated in the OSSLT. So this slide again demonstrates our journey with the OSSLT board versus the province for students with a learning disability. And as I stated earlier, the new EQAO platform, which does not capture data by identification, we will now be presenting achievement results for all students with special education needs, starting with the data this year from 2021-2022.
There were 397 students who participated in the grade 9 EQAO mathematics assessment. It is important to note that our board's data only captures results from second semester classes, as we made the decision to not participate in the mathematics assessment in the first semester due to the provincial school closures and the move to remote learning in January of 2022. Our board achieved a 40% success rate, while the province achieved a 52% success rate. For perspective and consideration, this was the first year of the new grade 9 D-streamed math curriculum. New topics include coding, modeling, inequalities, and financial literacy. Additionally, it was the first time the students used an online platform to complete the math assessment. And there were no field-tested questions to assist teachers and students to prepare, as there had been in previous years. We are continuing to identify gaps in knowledge and understanding. With the introduction of the new grade 9 de-streamed math course, a new diagnostic is currently in development. In some of our secondary schools, a bridge math course in semester 1 is being offered to address gaps in knowledge and understanding. The goal of this important intervention strategy is to help close the gap and establish an opportunity to meet greater success in the grade 9 de-streamed math course and EQAO assessment. The last time we presented student achievement results for the grade 9 mathematics assessment, results were divided between the applied pathway and the academic pathway. This slide shows past results for students who wrote the grade 9 applied mathematics assessment. As you can see, the results had been on a significant incline as we introduced spiraling content within the mathematics curriculum. With the new EQAO platform, starting with the 2021-2022 data, as shown on the previous slide, moving forward, we will now be presenting achievement results for all students in grade 9 de-streamed math. This slide represents past results for students studying in the academic pathway. As you can see again, our results had been on an incline with the introduction of spiraling content within the mathematics curriculum.
As Maureen shared, 397 students during second semester participated in the EQAO math assessment. Within that number of students, there were 93 with special education needs. 21% of these students attained the provincial standard in grade 9 de-streamed math, while the province was at 26%. There is no comparative data, as in the past years we reported on students with a learning disability only, and that data is no longer available to us. We continue to build on identifying skill gaps through grade 8 to 9 transition meetings to ensure supports are in place for grade 9. These supports could include a recommendation for a bridge math course and summer learning and participation in summer learning for grade 9. Intervention supports are in place for program coordinators of math to support classroom teachers for assessing, teaching, and working one-on-one or with small groups of students to address the gaps in knowledge and understanding. And again, the last time we presented student achievement data, we shared results for students with a learning disability who participated in the grade 9 applied math assessment. And this slide illustrates those past results in grade 9 applied math for the board versus the province for students with a learning disability. This slide illustrates our past results for grade 9 academic math assessment, board versus the province for students with a learning disability. And again, going forward, achievement results will be presented for all students with special education needs in grade 9 de-streamed math. Thank you.
The Rainbow District School Board can be proud of its overall EQAO results. We have the top result again in all English language boards in Northeastern Ontario in grade 3 math and in grade 6 math, as well as in grade 6 writing. Our most impressive gains, once again, are in grade 3 reading, in grade 6 reading, in grade 6 writing, and since 2009-2010, the OSSLT. We would like to thank our classroom teachers and principals who have persevered throughout the pandemic. Their hard work has created conditions for gains in student achievement. We look forward to continued opportunities to improve our professional practice. And always, our assessment results are used to enhance student learning, asking the questions, how are we doing, and what can we do next to improve student learning? We would be pleased to answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Any questions? Trustee Morrison.
Thank you, Chair Clement. I look forward to, I really enjoyed this presentation and look forward to future presentations. I want to start by thanking Colleen, Maureen, and Dan Kozier. Thank you very much for providing that information. I guess some of us, even though we're trying to put it aside and we've listened to many PD sessions and professional speakers that have talked about their learning gap as a result of COVID. But I've also seen presentation, Colleen, by you and staff throughout the system over the last year or two about the efforts we're making to focus on things like literacy and math competency. And what we saw here tonight was a demonstration of the results of those initiatives. So thank you. It wasn't just teaching styles and methodologies, it was also specific learning techniques and tools and practices that were going to be practiced across grades and across, this is not just a grade 3 or, thank you to the grade 3 and 6 teachers, but this is not just a grade 3 or 6 teaching effort. This applies all across the grades, like we talked about literacy, which applies across subject area and across grades and how they would be reinforced. And I'm saying, Colleen, I'm seeing from this presentation that those efforts have had some of the desired outcomes that we were looking for. So thank you, Colleen, and especially thank you to all the staff at all level, all classroom teachers who are making this happen for our kids. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Clement.
Thank you, Trustee Morrison. Any other comments? Trustee Farrell.
Just wanted to add a couple of comments also. Big thank you to Judy and to Leslie and Maureen and Colleen and David for all the hard work that they're doing. And I know personally how hard all these people work in the area of student success. So really want to say thank you so much for that. Just a comment for my fellow trustees. What's most impressive out of these results for me is how well we're doing provincially with our special needs students. And those of you who know me, I've been nothing more than a special education teacher all my life. And it's really very heartening for me to see how well we are doing with our kids in the system, from the special education perspective. I've always said that great instructional practice for special needs students is also great instructional practice for everybody in the school. So well done to everybody, and keep up the good work, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee Farrell. Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Clement. Through you to Superintendent Noble, perhaps you can direct. Right at the very beginning of the presentation, sorry, not sure who mentioned it, but it was something about that the questions in the test would be adapted for each student. Can you just expand, like each test is different, or can you just expand a little more what that means?
It's like a game. You know how you play online video games? If you do something, the program responds. So it's exactly the same. So if you answer a question in the wrong way, it's going to modify the next question versus somebody else who answered the question properly. So it is modified. They go through a couple of questions, and say you've made one mistake once, you might go down to this particular level, but then if you answer the next few properly, then you're going to go back up. So it continually responds to the student so that the exercise of the assessment is not one where the student's coming out feeling terrible. So basically, they feel good about their experience, they've done as well as they can, and at the end of the day, EQAO is able to easily assess the achievement of that student.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I can see how that would work, because yeah, if you answer the question and you obviously know the concept, why keep belaboring the point and ask you 5 more questions, move on to something else? So that's kind of exciting to hear, actually, that they're using that sort of AI or whatever is providing that technology. My second question was, I was just wondering if we could have some definitions around students with a learning disability versus students with special needs excluding gifted, what that actually entails specifically.
So students with a learning disability versus students who would be gifted. So the reason we wouldn't have students that are gifted included in that category is because they would...
Sorry, just to clarify, so students with special needs excluding gifted.
Yeah, so special needs excluding gifted because the gifted students would not need accommodations to complete the assessment.
Right, no, I understand that. I'm just trying to, like, wouldn't children with a learning disability also come under the, I'm just trying to differentiate
Yes,
what is the
okay, so-
definition of the group.
Okay, so when we say students with special education needs, we incorporate all exceptionalities. So when we think of students, or any student that has an individualized education plan, so it could be a formal exceptionality, or it could be a student that is not formally identified, but needs accommodation, so they'd have a non-exceptional individualized education plan. So it incorporates all of those groups.
Okay, so anybody with an IEP.
That's correct.
Versus learning disability and actual diagnosed learning disability.
Yes.
Okay, that makes
So it would also include the students with a learning disability too, so the whole umbrella.
So there's some overlap there. Gotcha. Okay, perfect. And then my last question was about the grade 9 math results. And you mentioned about a bridging math course. So I'm just, you mentioned summer school and a bridging course, but I got the idea that that was in grade 9. So is that concurrent? Like while you're doing grade 9 math, you're doing another course, or just a little bit more information about that?
So the Bridge Math course is the locally developed math course. So it is not the D-Stream math content, but it's a course of preparatory nature. So it can count as an elective. So the students do get credit for it, but what we're able to do inside the locally developed math course is prepare them to be successful for writing the D-Streamed grade 9 math course, so they're more likely to be successful. Does that make sense?
It does. So what we're doing is we're just sort of putting them in an environment where there's more assistance and help, but the goal is the same as the other class, which is to get to achieve the grade 9 D-Streamed.
Yes, so the locally developed content is content that has been approved by the ministry, and it does back up the entry level of each of the expectations more into grade 8 or grade 7, so the students have an entry into the concepts, so they can go back over those. The difference between high school and elementary school is we more typically have teachers formally trained in mathematics. So that, plus the smaller class size in a locally developed math course, offers an opportunity for students to get the more intensive supports they need in all of the expectations in preparation to be successful in the actual grade 9 D-Stream content.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Trustee Honda.
Thank you, Chair Clement. Just kind of a follow-up to your answer to Trustee Gibson, Superintendent Noble. What students are eligible, or how do they become students in that bridging course?
So at the end of grade 8, the student success teams meet with grade 8 classroom teachers, and they share students' levels in reading, writing, and mathematics. And so there's a conversation with the student success teacher at the high school and the grade 8 teacher about the appropriate placement for each of the students. So students who are not achieving at grade level in grade 8 may be considered for a bridge math course.
I see. Okay, good. Interesting.
So it's a conversation, it's a dialogue. Parents are included in that conversation, but we're trying to make sure the students are as successful as we can help them be.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comment? Trustee Addison.
Thank you for your hard work with regards to all this testing. I know as a teacher, it's a tremendous amount of work, or newly retired teacher. I did notice there is a little bit of a drop overall because of the learning environment that teachers were teaching in, and it is a challenge to overcome that gap. What new strategies will be in place to help teachers overcome some of those gaps?
Great question. Thank you. The work of Peter Liljedahl is the work that we are moving forward in our D-Stream classrooms, and his is the work of a thinking classroom. So when you think of some of the things that change inside a thinking classroom when you're teaching students of all levels, we're trying to make sure that we have more active learners versus passive learners. So you're changing things like the center of the classroom. So the center of the classroom is no longer the front of the classroom. The center of the classroom is where the learners are. So it can be on the walls, it can be the middle of the classroom, and you are encouraging math talk between students. You're focusing on problem solving. So you're trying to move students from being the recipients of knowledge and the regurgitators of content to becoming involved participants, active mathematics learners, asking questions, answering questions for their peers, and that really is a game changer in trying to teach all levels in the same classroom. We know that our grade 7 and 8 teachers have been doing this forever. It is no change for our students, for the most part. It is simply a change for our grade 9 classroom teachers.
And just one more question. The Bridge Math, is that available to all students in the board, or is it just Sudbury schools?
Great question. Locally developed math is available to all students in every school board. Not all schools offer locally developed courses. Not all boards offer locally developed courses, but the Rainbow District School Board does, and we do that for the purpose of intensifying supports for our students who are not yet able to meet grade benchmarks.
Okay, just to clarify, is that summer course, it will be offered this coming summer on Manitoulin? Because I know there wasn't offered this past summer.
So every summer we do run what's the word I'm trying to think of? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here for a minute. Students who have not been successful in earning their credit recovery. That's what I'm trying to think of. So we do offer in face-to-face summer school for those students. We do have to have enough uptake for students because we're trying not to offer as much virtually. We do know that the virtual environment is a very difficult environment for our mathematics learners. So summer schools are always run on a summer school register, which means that basically the number of students placed in a classroom generates the funds for a teacher. So if we don't have enough students in our more rural areas, it does make it difficult for us to generate the funding to get a teacher for face-to-face learning. And the only other thing that we would be able to do would be to run a virtual learning environment. So in Sudbury, where there are the numbers, we are running the face-to-face environment. It is better for our learners. Moving forward into next summer, we hope that we will be able to as well provide the course, the grade 9 D-Stream credit recovery course to our students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Corbier-Addison. Any more comments or questions? I see none. I would like to thank our superintendents, Dan, Maureen, Colleen, and all the staff of Rainbow Board. It's nice to see that we recognize the new stuff and we're trending in the right direction. That's the main thing. Thank you so much. Now we report from the in-camera committee of the whole board of the board meeting of the board that we have a motion. Director.
Motion reads that motion number 23 W02 regarding Cyril Varney Public School property matter be approved.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I'm back. We need a mover, please. Mover, Trustee Cosmerly. Seconder, Trustee Farrell. Any questions? I see none. Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement,
In favor?
Trustee Corbier-Addison,
In favor?
Trustee Dewar,
In favor.
Trustee Farrell,
In favor?
Trustee Hunda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmley,
In favor.
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Student Trustee Quincy.
In favor?
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Chair. Now we're going to go to E on the schedule, old business. Number 1, previous minutes. We have a motion that the minutes of the board meeting held Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 be approved. A mover, please.
Sorry, I had a question.
Yes.
Did we have any other motions coming from in camera?
Go ahead.
We do have another one that will come under 3B, Labor Relations Committee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We need a mover, please. Somebody? Trustee Cosmley. We need a seconder, please. Oh, Trustee Morrison. Any questions? Poll vote, please. Oh. You're good? Yep. Poll vote, please.
Trustee Clement,
In favor?
Trustee Corbier-Addison,
In favor?
Trustee Dewar,
In favor.
Trustee Farrell,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmley,
In favor.
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Student Trustee Quincy.
In favor?
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. B, we have a motion that the minutes of the special board meeting held Thursday, November 3rd, 2022 be approved. Mover, please. Oh, there we go. Trustee Gibson. I keep forgetting you're over there. And seconder, Trustee Corbier-Addison. Any questions? I see none. Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement,
In favor?
Trustee Corbier-Addison,
In favor?
Trustee Dewar,
In favor.
Trustee Farrell,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmley,
In favor.
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Student Trustee Quincy.
In favor?
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. We go to C, another motion that the minutes of the inaugural organizational board meeting held on Tuesday, November 15th, 2022 be approved. Mover, please. Trustee Gibson. Seconder. Trustee Cosmerly. Any questions? Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Clement. I previously sent you an email about this. I just wanted to move to amend the attendance at the meeting so that it differentiates between who attended electronically and who attended in person. We did have a previous format where we defaulted to in person, and then we would put in brackets the person attended via phone or Google Meet or whatever they did. So I'm not sure if we're going to go back to that now or what it's going to be, but I want to move to amend whatever the format's going to be going forward to capture that information.
If we're going to continue to do that, it'd be interesting, yeah? We can do that, Director?
Well, in order to meet the Education Act requirements, we're going to need to track who's in person and who's electronic.
It's in there. Okay.
Through your chair, Clement, in the past there was some differentiation in the minutes in terms of if someone was joining remotely, and we can certainly reestablish that practice now once the ministry has provided us some discussion or some direction on, returning to board meetings in person with a requirement of 3 per calendar year. So this will allow us to track that, and it's certainly past practice.
Okay.
So just point of order, if I may, regarding direction from the ministry.
Yes.
The education, as it stands, you must attend 3 in a 12-month period,
Oh, yes.
one per quarter,
Yep.
correct? And the chair must be present for each meeting unless you have a bylaw that allows for something different, and we do not. Is that correct? Our bylaw says the chair must be present at every meeting, electronic or not. So I just want some clarity around that, whether we're going to be rewriting the bylaw to match the Education Act, or if we're leaving ours at a much stricter in-person attendance, because we have that option, but we have not exercised it.
Do you need time to study that?
Through you, Chair Clement, I think that is a discussion for us as we consider our bylaws going forward, and if we want to make an amendment, but at the current time, that is our bylaws, so we will comply unless there's a movement from the Board of Trustees to change them. So that is our current position, and that's how we'll move forward until if there's a expressed desire to make a change, then we will debate that through our procedures and see if there are changes, but currently what Trustee Gibson shared is correct.
Thank you. Yes. Who's that? Oh. Trustee Dewar.
So I'm going to piggyback on what the questioning is. I need clarification as well. Has the ministry decided that all board meetings must be held in person?
Director?
Through you, Chair Clement, the ministry did issue information that was shared with all trustees about the return to in-person board meetings, and clarified that throughout the course of the calendar year from now until November, that 3 of those meetings must be in person for a trustee. So trustees have the option of attending virtually or in person. Of course, we've remained in person throughout the pandemic in terms of executive council, but at this point now trustees have that option, and with the requirement that from now until November, trustees are to attend 3 of our upcoming meetings in person. And there is some work, there is a working group. The Minister of Education has shared with chairs that there is a working group provincially to look at this matter. And they may have changes in the upcoming months as the working group convenes and starts to make decisions on that current position, but for now, that's the direction we have.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Director. Trustee Gibson.
Once again, just to clarify, nothing has changed recently. The Education Act was updated over a year ago. What happened was they didn't make a change. People were hoping that they would put further legislation to keep meetings electronic longer, but they did nothing. Therefore, the changes they made over 12 months ago stand, and those changes are very clear. So there hasn't been any recent changes.
No.
Quite the opposite. It seems that some people are a little confused.
You're right. There's no recent change, but they have mentioned to us that they're looking to make a change. So it's in the works, but we haven't heard anything back from them. So right now...
Yes, but the Education Act, as written, requires us to be here in person, for the chair to be in person, for one other member to be in person, So in order for us to do that, there has to be some organization and some recording of who's here and who's not. So otherwise, how do we ever know if we meet the requirement?
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm moving to amend that's recorded, just so it's clear what I'm amending. All this other discussion was just to try and help explain why I was making the amendment.
We'll bring that amendment forward to the probably Strategic Planning Committee. Okay, any more questions? I see none. Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement?
In favor?
Trustee Corbier Addison?
In favor?
Trustee DeBoski? Sorry, she's absent. She sent her regrets. My apologies. Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor?
Trustee Morrison?
In favor?
And Student Trustee Quincy.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. We move on now to number 2, tenders requests for proposal. Superintendent Bazinet. Superintendent Gilmore.
Thank you, Chair Clement. This tender is in regards to the project at Lively District Secondary School regarding classroom ventilation upgrades. It is tender number 2023-01. I'll read a brief description. We will be adding 3 energy recovery ventilation units, 3 heat recovery ventilation units for the shops, and 1 air handling unit for the main office. This will complete the ventilation for 14 classrooms, the administration area, guidance, offices, and the library. These new units will be controlled by the building automation system. There will be new ductwork throughout and will be hidden by new ceilings and bulkheads. And again, this will fully complete the ventilation work at the school. The budget for this project was $1.2 million. The funding source was the School Condition Improvement Fund. The winning tender price was $1,254,716 plus HST. And the winning bid was awarded to the vendor Ainsworth Inc. Therefore, the motion would read that the board award the contract for Lively District Secondary School classroom ventilation upgrades, tender number 2023-01 to Ainsworth Inc. for $1,254,000 or $254,716.
Thank you, Adam. I need a mover, please. Trustee Gibson. A seconder. Trustee Hunda. Questions, please. Oh, Trustee Hunda.
Thank you, Chair Clement. Through you to Adam. I don't recall hearing the name of this company before. Is it a local company or is it an out-of-town company?
Trustee Hunda, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure, but on my tender bid, it does say Sudbury, Ontario.
Okay, good. And that do you know? Are you aware, Adam, if it was the lowest bid that we're accepting, or?
Yes, Trustee Hunda, it is the lowest of the 5 tender bids.
Okay, and I'm sorry, could you repeat the name of it again?
It is Ainsworth Inc.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Any more questions? I see none. Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement?
In favor?
Trustee Corbier Addison?
In favor?
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor?
Trustee Morrison?
In favor?
Student Trustee Quincy?
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Super Gilbo. have to get used to that. Reports and recommendations from boards, board committees, I don't see any. Strategic Planning Committee, Director.
So we have two governance bylaw updates, both coming in form of notice of motion. I'll read the notice of motion. Under 3AI on your agenda, that the recommended changes as outlined in Governance Bylaw 3, Organizational Meeting, point 3.1.1, as amended, be approved.
I need a mover, please. Trustee Gibson. That's all we require is a mover for that. Number 2.
That the recommended changes as outlined in Governance Bylaw 6, duties of chairperson and vice chairperson, point 6.3, as amended, be approved.
I need a mover, please. Trustee Dewar. And that's all we need. That's all we need for that. Okay, we're going to the Labor Relations Committee. Chair Morrison.
Trustee Dewar's got a question.
Oh,
Thank you, Chair.
one second. I see Trustee Dewar had a question.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do want to point out that the Labor Relations Committee is going to be reporting, but the motion, if there is one, comes from the in-camera session. And that motion in the minutes should appear at the in-camera session. It is a motion from in-camera. So I'm going to just put that out there for your consideration, Chair Clement.
Yeah, we have to address. Yeah, we're already past that point. We'll have to address it here. But that's because that's all we have. Okay.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, we'll go to Chair Morrison.
Chair Clement, I just wanted to pick up on the point that Trustee Dewar brought up. I think this should have been dealt with as something that came from the in-camera meeting, but we can make sure that that's recorded correctly in the minutes. But I still think it's important that we get through this business tonight, because bottom line, the Labor Relations Committee did meet to review whatever details were available at this point for the tentative central agreement with our CUPE group. And the Labor Relations Committee was very happy to support the ratification of this agreement, and as such, I brought a motion forward to the board. And Director Bourget, do you have the motion that was passed by the Labor Relations Committee as a recommendation to the board to ratify? Go ahead, Bruce.
Thank you, Trustee Morrison. The motion I have before me is that the board ratify the tentative CUPE Provincial Central Agreement as recommended by the Labor Relations Committee.
Thank you, Director Bourget. So we did have the opportunity as a Labor Relations Committee to meet and look at some of the high level basically terms of the tentative collective agreement. And we're very confident in supporting this agreement, and that's our advice to the board. And as a result, the committee itself passed a motion to recommend to the board that the Rainbow District School Board ratify that centralized agreement with CUPE. And local negotiations still need to continue, of course, but this is the major piece of our bargaining, is we need to get that central agreement ratified. We're pleased to report that CUPE workers across the province ratify at a 73% rate. And so we're recommending that the Rainbow District School Board ratify that agreement with OPSPA tomorrow. We are showing we have confidence in our negotiating team, who we know we are represented at that central table by OPSPA. And we're doubly confident as a result of the fact we've got our employees have supported ratification of the agreement. And we'll hear more about the operational details of this in the coming months as they become more operationalized and known by our staff. But at this point, the Labor Relations Committee unconditionally recommends that the board ratify the Central QP tentative agreement, and that Judy Cosmoley, as our OPSU delegate, will vote accordingly on Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Morrison. We'll need a mover for that, Trustee Morrison, and a seconder, Trustee Dewar. Any questions? Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement?
In favor?
Trustee Corbier-Addison?
In favor.
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
Yes, in favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor?
Trustee Cosmoley?
In favor?
Trustee Morrison?
In favor?
And Student Trustee Quincy.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. And now we go to the Audit Committee. Number 1, the Audit Committee Annual Report. Chair Morrison.
Thank you. I believe the report is being put on the screen. You did receive it as emailed as background information as well. But this is the annual report that the Audit Committee is required to provide to the board every year. There are 2 reports. One is related on what work was done by the Audit Committee this year. And the other, of course, we did spend time, which is coming up on our agenda this evening, reviewing and questioning our external auditors, KPMG, on the financial statements. But you hear about that more in coming items. But really, the Audit Committee has submitted the annual report, and this was approved by the Audit Committee in our last meeting. It basically is showing that we've met all the regulatory requirements and more. So the Audit Committee is very pleased to report that to the board. But if anybody has any questions, I'd certainly be prepared to answer on behalf of the Audit Committee. But we spent a lot of time, of course, with our internal and external auditors. We've established pretty good relationships. We had an in-camera meeting where we discussed our staff response to the audit process and how well they were able to answer any questions and provide access to information systems and backup documentation. And we're again pleased to report that the auditors provided a very positive feedback to us on that. So we still have our 2 external, I call them auditors, but they're actually accountants who are members of our Audit Committee. And fortunately, yesterday, both were available, attended for most of the meeting, including the presentation of the financial statements. But one in particular, Frank Chinati, I just want to raise his name in particular because the Audit Committee is very thankful for Frank's ongoing support to Rainbow. Frank doesn't miss meetings. He's a very involved Audit Committee member. He asks a lot of relevant questions of our accountants and auditors, and I know the rest of us on the committee very much appreciate that oversight and input. Thank you, Chair Clement.
Thank you, Chair Morrison. Well, number 2, the financial statement. Okay.
Thank you, Chair Clement. Through you to the Director, probably. It's just about one of the findings in the audit report under the privacy educational applications. It mentions under findings, low priority ranking, it mentions that a procedure was currently being developed for use in this school year. I was just wondering if there's any further information about that.
I don't have the report in front of me here, but I'm
It seems to be a procedure around notifying students and parents that when they use educational apps, it may collect personal data, explaining how that information will be used, and giving the ability to opt out of services.
Okay.
I was just wondering if that's something we've actually done or we're still working.
There is some work on that. Thanks for the additional clarification. I apologize for my original question. I will turn it over to Superintendent Basnet, who will give you some more information in that regard.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Clement. Yes, that work is ongoing, and actually it is part of the 21C committee that Superintendent Wachnock oversees. Essentially, what it deals with is the selection of the educational software that's used in the classroom and how the training and the awareness is happening at the classroom teacher level, and how they also have a selected group or a selection of courses or software that is recommended for them to use, which also identifies all of the levels of risk. So that awareness is ongoing, and that committee meets on an ongoing basis, and I'm not sure if Superintendent Wachnock wishes to add to that or not.
Thank you, Superintendent Bazinet. Yes, we have a 21C committee. We have a subcommittee from that 21C committee that deals with this very thing. But it's just like Superintendent Bazinet described. But if there is a desire, we can certainly put something more detailed together to give a more thorough explanation.
Just to let you know, it is something that I get a lot of questions about. It's something personally, I'm shocked by the amount of different apps. My kids are expected to provide an email, log on. I'm sure if you push, there'd maybe be some other option for the assessment, but the easiest thing is just to go along and use the app that everyone's using. And it's definitely something I've got questions about. So there's definitely concern, a growing concern, I think. Perhaps with so much stuff going online in the last few years, people are sort of cluing into how much data you're putting out there. So I'd definitely love to hear more about it when you're closer to completing your work. Thank you.
We can do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Superintendent Bazinet, the financial statement. Superintendent Guilbeault.
Thank you, Chair Clement. The financial 2021-2022 financial statements are in the information package that was provided earlier today. To Trustee Morrison's point, the audit committee did meet yesterday, December 5th, to go over them. At this time, I'd like to introduce Derek D'Angelo, who I believe is with us virtually, and invite him to speak to the audited financial statements.
Thank you, Superintendent Guilbeault. So thank you for the opportunity to present the statements for the Rainbow District School Board for the year ended August 31st, 22. As Superintendent Guilbeault mentioned, the financial statements were reviewed by the Audit Committee yesterday on December 5th and were recommended to the Board for approval. During the course of the presentation, I'll provide you with an overview of the relevant points and significant changes from 2021. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask at any time, and I will do my best to answer. And if required, management will also add their comments. So looking at the Independent Auditor's Report, the Independent Auditor's Report is broken down into many different sections. The first section of the Independent Auditor's Report, or which is known as the opinion section, it identifies that the statements have been audited. It gives our opinion on the accompanying financial statements. And it also, at the end, will assumes that the statements will be approved today, which will be December 6th, and that will be the date on the statements. So for the fiscal year ended August 31st, 2022, we have given a clean or an unqualified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that can be given under Canadian audit standards. The third section, or the emphasis of matter section, which is the financial reporting framework, what this does is it describes the basis of accounting used and highlights any differences between this basis and Canadian public sector accounting standards. And you'll see that it references Note 1, which details all the significant accounting policies followed in preparation of the financial statements. The fourth section, or responsibilities of management and those charged with governance, describes the responsibilities of management in the preparation of the financial statements, and also describes that management is responsible to develop and maintain a system of internal control necessary to ensure that the financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. And the final section, or the auditor's responsibility section, describes that it is the auditor's responsibility to express an opinion on the financial statement based on the results of our audit, and to ensure that the audit was conducted in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, which require us to comply with ethical requirements and to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatements. We obtain evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. We use our professional judgment, including assessing risks, considering the internal controls that are relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. We evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies used and the reasonableness of the accounting estimates made by management. And then we evaluate the overall presentation of the financial statements. And as mentioned, assuming they're approved tonight, they'll be dated December 6, 2022. So please turn to page 1, which is the consolidated statement of financial position. The consolidated statement of financial position details the financial position of the board at a point in time, being August 31st, 2022, with the comparative numbers for August 31st, 2021. It would include the cash resources of the board, the net debt position, calculated as the difference between the financial assets and its financial liabilities, the non-financial assets, such as prepaid expenses and tangible capital assets, and the accumulated surplus. Looking at the financial assets first. So the first one is cash. At year end, the balance in the bank was $11.6 million, down from $17 million in 2021. The change in cash balance is directly related to results of the operations for the year, capital activities, as well as the activity in accumulated surplus and reserves, which I will review a little bit later on. Accounts receivable other is a balance mainly comprised of municipal tax revenues receivable, delayed grants receivable from the ministry, HST recoverable from the Government of Canada, and a receivable from the Transportation Consortium and other school boards. Starting in the 18-19 fiscal year, the ministry introduced a cash management strategy whereby the ministry delays a portion of the grant payments to school boards based on a set calculation. The delayed grant payment is included in the receivable from the ministry, and this amount at August 31st, 2022 is $24.8 million. The accounts receivable for approved capital funding is a receivable from the province based on how grants are paid to school boards for capital. The grants have been approved by the ministry and the board and are directly related to the debt incurred for capital construction. The investments are comparable to 2021 and really no significant changes to discuss at this time. Looking at the financial liabilities, the first one is the temporary borrowing. This amount relates to interim financing for construction costs for school improvement projects. The ministry funds these construction costs twice per year based on actual expenses and also provides funding for interest. Accounts payable and accrued liabilities have increased slightly from $20.3 million to $20.7 million in 2021. Next is the net long-term liabilities. The semi-annual payments were made, reducing the debt by $2.2 million with the Ontario Financing Authority and RBC. The total long-term liabilities were $38.2 million and were approved by the ministry and the board. Next, we'll look at deferred revenue, which is in note 7 or on page 12. Deferred revenue consists of amounts received by the board that are restricted for purposes in accordance with ministry guidelines. The first one is special education. The deferral of $7.2 million is due to an increase in the special incidents portion, the special education per pupil amount, and differentiated special education needs funding, as well as underspending due to the pandemic. The proceeds of disposition reserve decreased by $47,000 as some of the proceeds were used for a small renovation in the admin building to accommodate offices in the HR department. The pupil accommodation reserve, this carryover at August 31st, is to be used for planned projects in fiscal 22-23. The student achievement, Indigenous education, this increase is due to the unspent contributions received and is to be used in fiscal 22-23. The last one, the other deferred revenue, in 21-22, the Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery provided boards with PPE, rapid antigen tests orders, and HEPA filters due to the COVID-19 pandemic. $610,000 of this deferred revenue balance relates to the remaining inventory of PPE at August 31st, 2022, whether it be N95 masks, the rapid antigen tests, HEPA filters. This offsetting revenue will be allocated against these expenses in fiscal 22-23. If we can turn back to page 1, please. The next financial liability we'll look at is the deferred capital contributions. Deferred capital contributions include grants and contributions received that are used for the acquisition or development of tangible capital assets. There was an increase of $12.7 million, which is the net of deferred capital contribution additions of $30 million, offset by the revenue recognized in the period of $17.3 million. The last financial liability is the employee future benefits liability. There's a lot of detail on this in note 8, but I'm just going to go through it here. The note provides details on the board's long-term obligation for retirement benefits, which are the future cost in today's dollars of retirement gratuities, the cost of having retirees on the board's benefit plan, and WSIB. These amounts are arrived at by actuaries. They use employee demographics and information about the board's benefit plans to arrive at the future obligation as at August 31st, 2022. Accrued employee future benefit obligations decreased by $1.7 million in 2022 due to actuarial gains and benefits paid, offset by interest costs and current period benefit costs. Looking at the non-financial assets now, as mentioned, the inventory is the inventory of your PPE, as I mentioned in the deferred revenue note of $600,000. Prepaid expenses mainly relate to the timing of payments for secondary teacher wages. In 2022, the 2022-2023 secondary teachers' first pay was paid on August 26th as per the collective agreement, and therefore would be considered a prepaid expense. Finally, the last line item is tangible capital assets. And these are non-financial assets that are used to provide school services or are used for administrative purposes or for the maintenance and repair of other tangible capital assets. Total additions to capital assets were $30 million in 2022, offset by amortization of $18.1 million. The net increase of $11.9 million increased the net book value of tangible capital assets to $230 million. If we can turn to page 2, which is the consolidated statement of operations and accumulated surplus. The consolidated statement of operations and accumulated surplus provides information about the board's accountability for its operations. The statement also reports the surplus or deficit from operations and measures the board's change in its accumulated surplus in the period. Looking at the revenues, total revenues have increased by $14 million, ending the year at $231 million. The increase is comprised mainly of an increase in grants for student needs of approximately $6.9 million, $2.9 million due to increased enrollment, $2.2 million increased spending in student achievement and special education, so additional revenue was brought in from the deferred balances, and $1.8 million in increased transportation funding. Other fluctuations occurred, including a $4.3 million increase in other government grants, of which $4.2 million was for COVID support, a $1.7 million increase in the amortization of deferred capital contributions, a $100,000 increase in revenue from school boards, a $1 million decrease in other fees and revenues, and $1.4 million of increases in school fundraising. Total expenses have increased by $17 million, ending the year at around $229.5 million. Excuse me. The increase is comprised mainly of an increase in instructional costs of around $5.3 million. This is made up of a 1% wage increase, additional support in remote school, increase in support in special education, and increased spending on student achievement programs. There was an increase in transportation costs of $1.6 million. As you're well aware, the prior year had school closures from March to June, and no transportation was required. As well, in fiscal 22, enhanced cleaning costs and additional support for transportation were required. There was increase in pupil accommodation of around $4.2 million. There was $2 million increase in school operation costs, again with the school closure in fiscal 21. We had additional expenses in fiscal 22, and there was also a $2.2 million increase in amortization. And finally, there was school-generated funds increased by around $1.3 million. And the big piece of that is that there was around a $4.6 million increase in the in-kind PPE. As I mentioned, we get that amount in from the Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery, but it's also required to be recorded as an expense on the financial statements. And the majority of that is the rapid antigen tests, which are around 4.3 out of the $4.6 million increase. So the board had a surplus for the year of around $1.9 million, and that ended the year with an accumulated surplus of around $33 million. And if we can move to note 14, I'll give you a little bit more details on your accumulated surplus. So as mentioned, the total annual surplus was around $1.9 million, and the accumulated surplus did increase by this amount. The main pieces of the change, when we look at, there was around a $400,000 net increase in the reserves for committed capital, for student-focused initiatives, for Indigenous education initiatives, local priority funds, school-based initiatives, and capital planning. This was offset by a $1.7 million reduction in the unavailable for compliance reserve for employee future benefits, and around a $120,000 net decrease in the other unavailable for compliance reserves. The last two reserves mentioned are not available to balance the budget, as these reserves are externally appropriated. And the balance of $350,000 was transferred from the unappropriated operating accumulated surplus. This concludes my portion of the presentation of the financial statements for the year ended August 31st, 22, and welcome to and willing to answer any questions that may come up.
Thank you very much, Derek. Any questions? Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Clement. I think it's probably a question for the Superintendent of Business, or Superintendents of Business, but I'll direct it first of all to Superintendent Bazinet. Just regarding the proceeds of disposition, Mr. D'Angelo mentioned a small outlay for HR offices in the administration building. I know that in the past the proceeds of disposition was split into administration and school. Is that still a thing, or is it all just one amount because they have to be spent on school funds? So I'm just wondering, is there separate accounts there? Is it just all one? Have those rules changed?
Thank you. Through you, Chair Clement. The rules have not changed. It is still two separate components, one related to administration, which is governed by the proceeds that we would have received when we sold 69 Yonge, and the rest are dispositions that we receive when we sell to schools, and those must be used on school buildings.
So just to clarify, because I'm assuming most of it then would be from 69 Yonge, or like what's the sort of split? And can the administration funds be spent on schools but not vice versa? Or is it set just for that?
Essentially, they are split, and we track them separately. And within the 1.3 million, approximately less than 50,000 remains from the admin component. So the bulk of it is the schools.
Okay, from other sales that we've had. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Trustee Morrison.
Thank you, Chair Clement. Just through you, I wondered if I could ask Derek to explain something that was significant, not in terms of accounting practices or your final financial statements that have been presented to us, Derek, but the whole issue of the fact that this is not a qualified audited opinion, and part of that is related to this school-based fundraising activity and how that's now being looked at.
Absolutely. If we could maybe just turn 2 pages in on the stream, please. Yes, the next page. So, very good question. Since we've had school-generated funds on the financial statements, we have issued a qualified audit opinion, given that the fact that when there are school-generated funds involving cash, it's very difficult to audit, and therefore we usually qualify our opinion for fundraising activities, which is standard what you would see on the majority of any not-for-profit organization that would have significant fundraising dollars. Due to the school board changing to a lot of the school cash online system, a lot of less dollars actually being in the schools, and enhanced audit procedures, we were able to eliminate the qualification this year and issue an unqualified opinion or a clean audit opinion for the fiscal year ended August 31st, 2022, which is more consistent with what we're seeing across the province in school board financial statements.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? I see none. Therefore, we have a motion that the 2021-2022 financial statements be approved. I need a mover, please. I see Trustee Morrison. Oh, somebody had a question?
Chair Clement, if I could, I'd just like to say on behalf of this motion that's in front of us tonight is as a result of a recommendation from the audit committee. So I'd like to make the motion that the 2021-2022 financial statements be approved, and this comes from the audit committee of the board. Thank you.
Okay, so you move that then?
I will on behalf of the committee. Thank you.
Okay. We need a seconder, please. Trustee Gibson.
Point of clarification, is she moving that the audit committee recommends that the 2021-2022 financial statements be approved? Is that part of the motion?
No, just this motion.
Okay, because normally we would put
that the 2021-2022 financial statements be approved.
Yeah, normally we would put that as recommended by the audit committee.
Yeah.
I thought that's what she was saying.
Well, sometimes say that, but if it would have come under the agenda as from a committee, then that would have been self-evident. But I'm quite comfortable with what this was a recommendation to the board to approve just as described by Trustee Gibson, to approve the financial statements. And we do that with no qualification. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, any more questions? I see none. Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison.
In favor?
Trustee Dewar.
In favor. I'm not sure you have a seconder, but I'm in favor.
Yeah, we did have a seconder.
I believe Trustee Gibson was the seconder.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor.
And Student Trustee Quincy.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. And now we move on to new business. And we'll move on to the Director's Annual Report. Director Bourget.
Thank you, Chair Clement and trustees. I'm pleased to present the Rainbow District School Board's 21-22 annual report, which provides an overview of the key work that we accomplished in the past school year. It takes a great team to deliver quality programs and services to students from kindergarten to grade 12. Let me begin by acknowledging the leadership of this board. Thank you for your service to public education, which opens doors and possibilities for the children and young people in Sudbury, Espanola, and Manitoulin Island. Our trustees are strong advocates for student success, and we appreciate the opportunity to work with you in achieving our shared vision, mission, values, and priorities. Our great team, of course, includes our school administrators, our teachers, and all of our support staff who come together to ensure Rainbow Schools are great places for students to learn, to grow mentally, physically, socially, and emotionally. The cover of this year's annual report features two of our newest learners. This photo was taken during kindergarten camp at McLeod Public School, where Lila Lassard and Anin Sidhu became fast friends. We thought this photo was timely given the additional resources approved by the board to support literacy in the primary grades. The photo certainly makes us smile. It's great to see the interaction between the children, and they were certainly excited to start school. You will see this image again in our invitation to parents and guardians to visit our schools with their children for our kindergarten information nights in January. On page 2, as you know, we continue to live and learn amidst the pandemic in the past school year. For historical purposes, we've added a timeline of school openings and closures like we did in the previous annual report. Also on this page, we've included a table of contents for ease of reference. This is the first annual report structured around the 6 priorities in our new strategic plan. School boards are required to produce an annual report in accordance with the Education Act. Annual reports are shared with the Premier of Ontario, the Ministry of Education, and our many partners in the communities that we serve. They are also posted on our website under Broader Public Sector Reports in the About Us section. Once we've completed the accessible version of this annual report, it will become available online, and we will issue a news release to advise the public. It has become our practice to include an overview of the current board budget in the annual report. Trustees approved the 2022-23 budget in the previous school year, and the budget is important because it provides the financial framework to enable the board to achieve its vision, mission, values, and priorities in strategic directions. On page 3, we have listed the Board of Trustees for the past school year. The student trustees were selected in the spring of 2022 and were sworn into their roles prior to the start of the current academic year. We've also listed Executive Council, and as you know, last year we welcomed Superintendent Fisher, and Superintendent Fisher has been an excellent addition to the senior leadership team, and we're all proud to serve this board. On page 4, as board chair, Bob Clement says in his remarks, Rainbow Schools welcomes students back to in-person learning after more than 3 months of learning from home. In addition to in-person learning, we offered remote learning for a second year. The safety protocols in place were outlined in a reopening guide to Rainbow Schools that was shared prior to the start of the school year and updated as required. Rainbow Schools reopened with expanded opportunities for students in sports, clubs, and bands, and this represented a significant shift in the pandemic as we moved one step closer to the full school experience that we know is so important for our students. As our chair stated, the school year began with many restrictions, but it ended with a more hopeful note with the return of in-person graduations. Regardless of the circumstances, our students and our staff continued to shine. And there's a photo of one of our athletes from the Challenge Meet, which was hosted in June following a 2-year hiatus. On page 5, we welcome students and staff back for in-person learning. We continue to focus on mental health. Our first goal was to safely reconnect with students, creating supportive communities within our classrooms and our schools. Whether students were learning face-to-face or remotely, well-being and achievement remained a priority. When our students are part of an inclusive community, where they are respected for who they are, where they see themselves in the curriculum, where they're supported and surrounded by their peers and caring adults, and where they have opportunities to experience the full spectrum of school life through team sports, school clubs, and special events, they are then ready to achieve their full potential. Just as I acknowledged our trustees and our staff, I'd also like to acknowledge the students in Rainbow Schools who continue to make us proud, as you saw tonight, and again last year, through their individual and collective achievements. To attend school during a global pandemic isn't easy, but our students responded with resiliency and a growth mindset that will serve them very well in learning and later in life. Parents and guardians and education partners responded with patience and kindness, and we're grateful for their ongoing support. As we all know, they're a very important part of our team. The photo featured with my message was a football game between Confederation Secondary School and Lively Secondary School, which reminded us that we're back in action. And it's certainly heartwarming to see students enjoying school life at the fullest once again this year. During the 21-22 school year, we renewed our strategic directions for the next 5 years. I had the privilege of hosting conversations and consultations with many of our stakeholders. I'm grateful for the input that we received from our students, parents, guardians, staff, education partners, school communities, First Nations chiefs. All of the board committees were engaged in the process as well, including our First Nations Advisory Committee and our Special Education Advisory Committee. I sincerely want to thank the ad hoc working group of trustees who received the input and shared their feedback. Strategic directions reflects on our collective vision for the children and young adults in our care, and I think it's best represented in our new mission statement, which reads, "Together we prepare students to become lifelong learners, achieving their full potential as confident, caring members of society." We also renewed our values, the 7 grandfather teachings braided together with resilience, equity, and community. And we adopted 6 priorities which really provide the focus for our work, and they are student success and achievement, truth and reconciliation, literacy and numeracy, mental health and well-being, environmental education and sustainability, and equity and inclusive education. Of course, strategic directions put students first and foremost. This is reflected in the images that were carefully curated for this document. There's a link to strategic directions below in the table of contents of the annual report. On page 7, we dedicated the page to topics explored during the Parent Involvement Committee meetings that were held last year. Parental involvement improves student achievement. It is therefore so important that our students and our guardians continue to have regular opportunities to be engaged in our schools. As I mentioned previously, our parents and guardians are an important part of our team, along with our community partners. Beginning on page 8, we move into the priorities approved by the board in strategic directions. We've allocated 6 pages of content, or 3 double-page spreads to each priority. This report is not intended to be a running list of all the activities that occurred in schools. It does, however, provide an overview of where we focused our efforts and why. While each priority stands on its own to make our work purposeful and meaningful, they do not operate in isolation. You will see how the priorities are interconnected as the stories unfold. We begin our annual report with mental health and well-being, which provides the readiness for learning. Professional learning at the start of the 21-22 school year focused on trauma awareness in schools and understanding the impact of trauma on the developing brain. And here you see some visuals of resources that were shared with administrators and teachers. We also make good use of the documents provided by School Mental Health Ontario to support the return to school. As I mentioned during my message at the beginning of this report, our focus was on creating warm and welcoming environments for students and relationship building as we reconnected, whether in person or remotely. On page 9, our staff, parents, and guardians had an opportunity to hear 3 highly respected speakers who delivered powerful messages of hope. 2 of the speakers, Frank DeAngelis and Kevin Cameron, were hosted by the Violent Threat Risk Assessment Steering Committee. The 3rd speaker, Dr. Michael Unger, is a leading authority on resilience. He talked about nurturing resilience through strong families, school, and community connections. On page 10, we continue with a story on ongoing training for suicide prevention. Topics included ways children at risk of suicide communicate their need for help or warnings, factors that increase risks or risk factors, and factors to help mitigate risk or protective factors. Our students continue to be surrounded by a strong circle of support that includes our educators and our social work team. The focus is always on being hopeful and helpful. Also on this page, we feature a program initiated at Sudbury Secondary School with community support called My Best Self. This program teaches students to learn by focusing on community outreach, emotions, healthy habits and relationships, nutrition, physical health and hygiene, positive motivation and perseverance, self-compassion, stress management, substance abuse prevention, and team building. On page 11, our next article on mental health and well-being raises awareness about the impact of trauma, be it developmental trauma or intergenerational trauma. When we apply a trauma-aware lens, we see situations in a different light. The goal is to build understanding for why students may be behaving in a certain way so we can better support them. Rainbow District School Board's focus on mental health is creating learning environments where young people become strong, healthy, and vibrant individuals without discrimination. On page 12, we visit the Kindness Ninjas from RLBD Public School, who have teamed up with grade 9 French immersion students at Llewellyn Park Secondary School to spread kindness. This has been a magical buddy mentorship that has benefited both schools. The children bring out the best in the older students, and the older students are bringing out the best in the children. On our next page, in the last school year, we met up with some of the original Kindness Ninjas from Larchwood Public School. We reconnected years later with Dane Pacey and Sam Cunningham, who are now in grade 3. Dane had said the Kindness Ninjas taught him to treat people like you want to be treated and always be kind. And Sam said kindness is like a very good virus. It makes everyone happy and it makes you feel good inside. Kindness was also blooming in Rainbow schools during Children's Mental Health Week. Schools focused on what is kindness, being kind to yourself, caring communications, being kind to others, and being kind to the environment. We also invited parents and guardians to hear our guest speaker on parenting for positive mental health. On page 14, we move to another priority, literacy and numeracy. Our feature story is the board's response to the Right to Read report. The program staff reviewed the report and cross-referenced the recommendations with current literacy practices. While literacy instruction in Rainbow schools already reflected many of the recommendations in the report, we noted that students who struggle to sound out and decode words could benefit from daily phonics instruction. On page 15, with the support of the trustees, the board's 22-23 budget included a Literacy Lighthouse initiative with 4 model classrooms to demonstrate best practices in reading instruction, 2 literacy coaches, and additional special education resources. Teachers are supporting instruction and assessment, the solid classroom work that engages teachers every day. Teachers also have access to more resources to use in their classrooms. And of course, we also continue to offer interventions that have proven to be very effective with our students, including Lexia, leveled literacy intervention, and Empower Reading. On page 16, we move into literacy and visit the Thinking Classroom, which is a pedagogical approach to implementing the math curriculum in grades 9 to 12. The Thinking Classroom was a focus for professional learning during the last school year. It continues this year. Dr. Peter Liladal spoke to all grade 9 math teachers at 2 professional learning days. What does this approach look like in a classroom? Well, students are problem solving in random groups rather than independently. They are standing and working on vertical, non-permanent surfaces rather than always sitting in desks. And teachers are consolidating student work from all over the classroom. On page 17, the next story focuses on tutoring support funded by the province of Ontario. This tutoring support is for students who experience learning loss as a result of the pandemic. We received funding last spring and this fall, and we have been advised that the funding is extended until March of 2023. We also celebrated reading success at Chelmsford Valley District Composite School, which offers programming from kindergarten to grade 12. Every time a student receives an increase in their reading level, they get a Reading Star certificate, and Principal Daniel Williamson says the Reading Stars celebrate individual progress and whole school success. They serve as daily reminders to keep up the great work. Growth is happening. Principal Williamson attributes reading success at CVDCS to a whole school approach with classroom teachers, special education staff, and educational assistants working together to model and support literacy in all grades. In our next feature on page 18, we highlight the program for newcomers, which was presented for the first time this past summer. Newcomers had an opportunity to learn more English and connect with the community before the start of the school year. In addition to the summer program for newcomers, Rainbow District School Board offered established summer programs with enhancements, including extra support through special education, Indigenous education, and mental health. On page 19, we featured a summary of these summer programs. On page 20, we move into student success and achievement. Some of you may recall meeting teacher Lindsay Clary, a grade 5 teacher at Algonquin Road Public School, at a board meeting last year. We invited her to join us to talk about how she engages students to work hard and achieve success. And this is her quote, "Positive reinforcement is my jam. That is what I feel kids respond to best. So I'm always looking for ways to celebrate and emphasize the good." On page 21, we have a story where readers discover what starfish, alpacas, tigers, and donuts have in common in a teaching and learning environment with high expectations. Ms. Clary encourages her students to see a bright future for themselves and uses humor to model self-acceptance, self-confidence, and empathy towards others. On page 22, we move from indoors to outdoors for the culmination of an exciting science project. Some of you may remember that retired teacher Darren Foy set up a fish hatchery at the school as a prototype to stock local lakes with native brook trout and walleye. Teacher Ryan Crouch and his grade 7 and 8 students are working to bring the hatchery to current standards. As a strong advocate for sustainability, Ryan Crouch believes that this is an important learning opportunity for students with ties to curriculum from grades 4 through to grade 8. The hatchery connects theory with hands-on experience as students learn about cell biology and the natural development of fish from egg to fry. And this brings us to the dock at Science North, where students and families gathered to release the fry into Ramsey Lake last June. On page 23, from Science North, we move across the street to the Health Sciences North, where Project Search is now underway. A tremendous amount of groundwork was required to introduce this international program to our students. A partnership was formed between Rainbow District School Board, Health Sciences North, the City of Greater Sudbury, and March of Dimes Canada. The partners worked on the implementation of Project Search, HSN, a transition to work program that combines classroom instruction with hands-on learning. Students in their final year of high school develop skills required for entry-level employment. Project Search, HSN, is a shining example of how partnerships benefit students. I'd like to commend everyone who worked diligently over the past year to bring this program to Greater Sudbury under the leadership of Superintendent Watchnuk and our Principal of Special Education Programs and Services, Colleen McDonald. We look forward to shining a spotlight on Project Search HSN in the months to come. On page 24, still in the Student Success and Achievement, we traveled to Cambrian College, where the Student Senate hosted the Learn to Lead conference last spring. It was great to have students from all of our secondary schools gather in person for this exciting opportunity to network and participate in leadership workshops. And on page 25, nothing says student success and achievement like graduations. The 21-22 school year ended with the return to in-person graduation ceremonies. And we extend our congratulations to the class of 2022 and wish all of our students the very best as they pursue their chosen pathways, whether it be college, university, apprenticeship, independent living, or the world of work. On page 26, on September 30th, 2021, our schools observed the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. To mark the milestone, we held our very first sunrise ceremony at the Center of Education. The sunrise ceremony solemnly acknowledged the little ancestors from Indigenous families and communities that never made it home from residential schools, and commemorated the survivors and their families who had the courage to share their stories. I extend my gratitude to Hazel Fox Recollect for organizing our sunrise ceremony. On page 27, flags flew at half-mast at Rainbow Schools, observing a moment of silence. Students wearing orange engaged in a history lesson that shed a light on a dark chapter in Canada, the tragic impacts of residential schools. As we know, acknowledging the truth is the first step towards reconciliation. On page 28, at the beginning of November, students participated in Treaties Recognition Week. The week provided another opportunity to deepen knowledge and build understanding as we move from commitment to action. On page 29, as we know, truth and reconciliation is now a standalone priority in Rainbow District School Board's multi-year strategic plan. This reaffirms the ongoing importance of the Truth and Reconciliation, a commitment to action plan adopted by the board. Making truth and reconciliation a priority on its own will ensure that we remain intentional and focused. And while we have made great strides in this important work, there is much more to be done. A broader team of educators has been established to lead implementation of the action plan in Rainbow schools. And also on this page, we highlight 2 initiatives that occurred in the last school year. With a return to field trips, students visited sugar bushes at Maple Hill Farm and Tikkamikshing. Our new Vice Principal of Indigenous Education last year, Tim Najwan, said students loved being out on the land and learning very valuable lessons. And we also showcased a button and accompanying bookmark that were shared with new families to Rainbow Schools during kindergarten orientation, greeting our new families in many languages. The bookmark outlined the significance of the design of the button in relation to the Indigenous culture. On page 30, we end our highlights in Truth and Reconciliation with a focus on student success and achievement. A series of 7 awards aimed at empowering Indigenous students was launched in all Rainbow secondary schools last year. The awards were introduced in the 20s for Mishko students, a program for Indigenous students operated by Rainbow District School Board in partnership with Chicago McQuay Health Center. And we thank Brett Reckele for his leadership with these awards. On page 31, certificate designs were created by Michael Lamplin, a grade 12 arts education student and graphic artist from Sudbury Secondary School. The designs are keeping with traditional Indigenous art, inspired by the animals that teach each of the 7 grandfather teachings. It's certainly an honor to showcase Michael Lampman's work on the Indigenous Student Success Awards that are now offered in all our secondary schools. On page 32, from Truth and Reconciliation, we move into environmental education and sustainability. Indigenous teachings were incorporated into environmental challenges that were issued into the 21-22 school year, and I will get to those challenges in a moment. First, let's focus on an achievement for Rainbow District School Board that has been years in the making. When the board declared a climate change emergency, a commitment was made to have all of our schools Eco School Canada certified by 2022. And as the school year drew to a close, Eco Schools Canada officially confirmed that this mission had been accomplished. Rainbow District School Board was one of only 2 school boards in Canada to achieve the distinction in the 2021-22 school year. I'd like to thank Superintendent Noble and her committee for their leadership. This is certainly a tribute to all the students and staff in our schools who have made and continue to make environmental education and sustainability a priority at school, at home, and in the communities we serve. Congratulations to everyone who contributed to this huge milestone. On page 33, Eco School certification recognizes achievement in 6 key areas: ecological literacy, energy conservation, environmental stewardship, school groundwater greening, teamwork and leadership, and waste minimalization. The Eco Schools commitment is the cornerstone of the board's climate action change plan. On page 34, the monthly environmental challenges have proven to be an ideal way to motivate, inspire, and affect change. And I can tell you that from my own household. Staff and students rose to the challenge throughout the school year, said Superintendent Noble. We're so proud of them. On page 35, we continue to highlight the environmental challenges that occurred throughout the last school year on the next page. And as I mentioned previously, these challenges had Indigenous components as well. It's a good example to see how our priorities are interconnected. On page 36, we end our section on environmental education and sustainability with features from Llewellyn Park Secondary School. Students painted yellow fish near storm sewers to remind all the citizens that only rain goes down the drain. The initiative was part of Trout Unlimited Canada's Yellowfish Road education campaign and a collaborative project by Llewellyn Park Secondary School, the Junction Creek Stewardship Committee, and the Nepewan Lake Watershed Stewardship Group with support from the City of Greater Sudbury Lake Stewardship Grant Program. As we see, partnerships continue to give students meaningful learning opportunities in the community. And on page 37, those partnerships are benefiting our schools. Over the past 4 years, Llewellyn Park, for example, has been renovating, creating modern spaces for students and staff. A big blank wall in the new cafeteria provided the perfect canvas to blend art, history, and geography. Our first thought was to bring the outside in, said Llewellyn Park Principal Pam Potvin. Joanna Westby and her students from Cambrian College made the vision come to life with this amazing mural that you see. The mural was unveiled on May 20th. It is aptly called Northern Resurgence, and it celebrates the beauty of our northern landscape. We extend our gratitude to Joanna Westby and the talented students from Cambrian College who made this mural possible. On page 38, we turned our attention to equity and inclusive education. And in the last year, Superintendent Noble led consultations to review questions for our ministry-mandated student census. A steering committee with broad representation was established to provide feedback and guidance. The census questions therefore reflected the input from many people over many months, and as you know, the Board of Trustees was consulted throughout the process. On page 39, also during last school year, we enlisted the Student Senate to assist with communications, and I'd like to thank our senators for being our ambassadors. The data that we gathered earlier this fall will be used to produce reports on overall student achievement and well-being based on identity and demographics. With this data, we will be able to determine how groups of students are doing in our schools and how we may provide further support. As always, the goal is to foster safe, welcoming, inclusive school communities where everyone belongs and has the ability to achieve their full potential. Still on the topic of data, we've established a data team to track student progress and establish and make evidence-based decisions on interventions and strategies. This data does include school attendance, report card marks, EQA results, and learning skills. And we're currently introducing a new tool to our schools called Compass for Success. On page 40, in the next 2 pages of our annual report, we highlight some of the equity posts that we shared throughout the last school year. This was a new initiative for the board. A key component to making schools more inclusive is recognizing days of significance. And we're being intentional in our efforts to represent the diverse students and families that we serve. On page 41, sharing days of significance with our staff on email and our community on Facebook creates awareness, builds understanding, and cultivates a caring community. And as we move to page 42, we continue our focus on equity and inclusive education with an overview of de-streaming, which began in September of last year with the grade 9 math course. And now grade 9 courses are being offered in one stream for all. Grade 9 students, including compulsory courses such as math, science, and English, and electives which are traditionally de-streamed, such as physical education, technology, and music. Students in the applied stream of study were limited in the courses they could take in later grades, which in turn limited their access to some post-secondary education opportunities. De-streaming of grade 9 gives students more time to choose a pathway of study, which hopefully broadens their options and opens doors for their future. And in page 43, we end this section with the 2022 Free to Be Me conference, which occurred in person last spring. This was a 2-day symposium, a day for students in grades 7 and 8, and another day for students in grades 9 to 12, aimed at creating and enhancing school-based sports for students who are lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, questioning, and two-spirited, as well as students with friends and family members in these communities. Students who participated in Free to Be Me build understanding and brainstorm solutions to help foster a greater sense of safety and belonging in their schools and communities. We are all allies. And this concludes the overview of key work and the 6 priorities that were adopted and approved by the board last year. On page 44 in the next section, we celebrated recipients of board awards. We recognized employees who had 35 years of service and 25 years of service, and we welcome the opportunity to feature dedicated employees and community partners in the awards booklet distributed last spring. On page 45, together they reflect experience, energy, enthusiasm that make Rainbow Schools great places to learn. Congratulations to all our winners. And on page 46, we also celebrate some of the students and staff who brought pride and praise to Rainbow Schools during the last school year. Tonight we met the LaSalle OFSA champions, and last year we had the pleasure of meeting cross-country runners from Manitoulin Secondary School and Llewellyn Park Secondary School, who were also the very best in the province. We also met Coach Colin Ward, who received the 2021 Male School Sport Coach Award from the Coaches Association of Ontario. On page 47, our very own Superintendent, Leslie Fisher, who earned the Ontario Principals Council Difference Maker Award as Principal of Program. We also saw Llewellyn Park students who captured top honors in a Youth Global Stock Market competition. And we met teacher Patrick Barnholden, who received the Stonewall Award from the International Day of Pink. On page 48, Tyler Smith, a grade 12 student from Llewellyn, earned the prestigious Schulich Leadership Scholarship. On page 49, 4 students were selected to participate in the SHAD Canada program last summer, including our very own student trustee, Jocelyn Quincy from Manitoulin Secondary School. Congratulations again, Jocelyn. And Lockerbie Composite students, whose students and staff continue to raise funds for the pediatric oncology program at the Northeast Cancer Center at Health Sciences North. Since its inception, this drive has raised close to $1 million. Principal Craig Runsman says, "We salute all those who came before us. They had the vision and the leadership to launch the campaign and ensure a solid foundation. We're all proud to carry the banner forward in memory of Laura Catesta and make this fundraising initiative a lasting legacy for our community." On page 50 of the annual report highlights the 2023 budget, the financial framework for our strategic directions. The budget was calculated on a projected enrollment of 13,444 students. Trustees, I am very, very pleased to share that the Rainbow District School Board has over 14,000 students as of October 31st, 2022. The public can access the board's financial statements at rainbowschools.ca. And on page 51, we provided some background about how the budget is developed. As you know, the process is inclusive. We begin to seek public input long before budget discussions begin. On page 52, the staff complement has increased somewhat this year. Our facilities have decreased by 1. In the elementary panel, as students from Cecil Varney are now accommodated at Churchill Public School. And on page 53, we included pie charts on sources of revenue and expenses by object and by function. And this provides a snapshot of what goes where, how the board allocates its budget to have the greatest impact on the classroom. Pages 54 to 57, we recognize our scholarship recipients and the Ontario Scholars in the last school year. And page 58, we have included a current directory on the back cover for ease of reference. And this, trustees, concludes my presentation on the 2021-22 annual report. We had a productive school year filled with pride and promise going forward, and we will continue to build on this good work this year. It will be a pleasure to share this annual report with the Province of Ontario, the Ministry of Education, and our many partners in Sudbury, Espanola, Manitoulin on your behalf. And before I conclude, I do want to say sincere thanks once again to Nicole Charette and Jen Bata for their incredible work to produce such a document of this quality that is the envy of many boards across the province, to celebrate all the wonderful things, just a snapshot, I would say, of many wonderful things that happened in the board last year. And at that, I'd say thank you for the opportunity to present tonight.
Thank you, Director. That was a great presentation. You know, when we look at something like this here, it really showcases our board, and the reason our board are leaders in education, not just in Northern Ontario, but Ontario and in Canada. Thank you very much. Any questions for the director or any comments? Trustee Cosmley.
Just one. All I can say is wow. Like it blows my mind. Just an incredible document. Thank you to everyone who contributed to that excellent document, and I really look forward to reading it. Really, really well done. I really especially like that you've set things up according to the strategic plan and our priorities. That's just excellent.
Thank you. Trustee Morrison.
Thank you, Chair Clement. I too just wanted to say, wow, and I wanted to just ditto many of Trustee Cosmely's recent comments on this. I too just wanted to give some feedback in the fact that I too really appreciate the fact that is now being presented and organized around the strategic directions. Thank you. And my second question, I have a question, and it's about the distribution of this. When is it going to be posted on the website? And did we print enough documents to have paper distribution?
I'm just looking over at Nicole Shred, who manages such answers to these questions, and she is advising me that the end of next week would be the time where it might be posted. And as part, I'm looking at Superintendent Noble, who you know is a champion for all things environmental education, so we are limiting some of our paper copies and predominantly going online. There will be some very limited edition hard copies, but not very many at all. Certainly our production will be online to go green. Thank you.
Understand that, Director Bourget. I'm just putting in my bid for a paper copy as a low-tech learner. I would really appreciate getting that. Oh, and I can't get my eyes off of Trustee Hunda now on the screen, who has a future Rainbow student in her arms. Thank you, Director Bourget. Well done.
Thank you, Trustee Morrison. Trustee Farrell.
Just wanted to echo the comments also that both Trustee Morrison and Trustee Cosmely had to say, and just wanted to say, Director Bourget, great job. It's really apparent to me the focus on students, and the report is based on students, and it's centered on students with all kinds of great pictures, so that's fantastic. I love the fact, absolutely love the fact that you are posting all the successes that we're having, whether it be academic, whether it be, from a athletic point of view, the fact that we're putting the names of our Ontario scholars in this document just shows a great deal of pride of what we do on a daily basis. So thank you, great job, well done to everybody. I know it's not just a one-person job because I've seen the work that goes into it. So a huge thank you goes out to everybody on the team that put their effort into this.
Thank you very much. We go to number 2, Public Education Symposium, PES as we call it, 2023. Well, we haven't done this for a while, the traveling piece, and now the doors are wide open apparently in Toronto. So we'll start off with a motion that the board approve the attendance of the following trustees at the 2023 Public Education Symposium in Toronto, January 26, 28, 2023. I need a mover, please. Judy Cosmely, a seconder, Trustee Gibson. Okay, we need some names to go along with this. You're going, Trustee Gibson. That's number 1. Yep. Trustee Cosmely. Trustee Farrell. Trustee Corbier Addison. And I must add, these are must ones for you and Mr. Farrell as new trustees. This is what this particular symposium is about. You'll meet some really, really good people there. Anyone else? Trustee Hunda. Trustee Clement. Guaranteed. I'm going to that one. And also, I'll be asking for a copy of that report also, because this is where, when we go down there, you'll meet all the other boards and so on and so forth. And this is where we brag about Northern Ontario. And when we show this report, you would not believe how many boards do not have a report like this. So kudos to Nicole and Jennifer and all the work that you guys do. It's just phenomenal. Okay, so we have Trustee Gibson, Trustee Cosmerly, Trustee Farrow, Trustee Honda, Trustee Clement. Anybody else? Oh, geez, I didn't put you down here. Corbier, Addison. Almost didn't get you in there. All right, a poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Corbier Addison.
In favor?
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Farrow.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor.
Student Trustee Quincy.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. And that brings us up to, oh, she does. Trustee Cosmerly.
You beat me to it in terms of asking for the annual report because I wrote a note to myself because there will be a Northern directors meeting, and that's an excellent place to share with the other directors what we've been doing up here.
For sure. Thank you. We go to number 3. The next symposium is the Austell Labor Relations and Human Resources Symposium 2023. That's another one we haven't had for a while, and it seems to be right in place for us this year in negotiations. So there's, I guess that should be a motion. Yeah, should be a motion. No?
Save the date, motion will come later.
Oh, okay. That's what we'll do. We're going to save the date. I should read that a little deeper here. Yeah, bigger capitals. Save the date for April 27th, 28th at the Sheraton in Toronto, and that'll come up at a later date. Another motion here. You got somebody?
I think we're okay.
I think you're okay? Are we okay? All right. We have a motion that the 2023 membership fees in the Ontario Student Trustees Association be approved. A mover? Trustee Hunda? A seconder? Trustee Gibson? Any questions? I don't see any. Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement.
In favor?
Trustee Corbier Addison.
In favor?
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Farrow.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor?
Trustee Morrison.
In favor. In favor.
And Student Trustee Quincy.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. Number 5, insurance renewal. We have a motion that the 2023 renewal of insurance for liability, property, crime, and fleet automobile with the Ontario School Board's Insurance Exchange for the amount of $328,600.08 be approved. I need a mover, please. Trustee Morrison. A seconder. Trustee Corbier Addison. Any questions? Trustee Gibson.
Through you, Chair Clement, to the Superintendent of Business. I'm just looking for whether the premium has moved up, down, or stayed the same.
Thank you, Trustee Gibson. The premium has increased. This year it's $328,600.08. Last year from $283,000, $283,550.84. The premium increase largely due to market rate increases on the property side due to an exorbitant amount of claims across the board.
Thank you.
Trustee Morrison. Your sound, Trustee Morrison.
Just saying thank you, Chair Clement. Trustee Gibson asked my questions, so thank you.
Thank you. I see no more questions. Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement.
In favor?
Trustee Corbier-Addison.
In favor.
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmely.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor.
Student Trustee Kunze.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. Number 6, budget development process. We have a motion that the 2023-24 budget development process be approved. Mover, Trustee Morrison. Seconded by Trustee Farrell. Any questions? I see none. Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement.
Favor?
Trustee Corbier-Addison.
In favor.
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmely.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor.
And Student Trustee Kunze.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. Number 7, we have a request for leave of absence that Linda DeBossige be granted a leave of absence from the December 6, 2022 board meeting. Mover, please. Trustee Gibson. And Trustee Cosmely, second by Trustee Cosmely. Any questions? I see none. Oh, what? Somebody's waving there. Who's waving that? Trustee Hunda.
I feel invisible tonight, Bob. I would like to include Student Trustee Trudeau to that motion, please.
Okay.
She is not feeling well, and we were informed that at the Student Senate meeting last night, so I would like to include her name as well, please.
Okay. So that we have Linda DeBossige and Trustee Trudeau. We have a mover, Trustee Gibson. We have a seconder, Trustee Cosmely. Poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement.
In favor?
Trustee Corbier-Addison.
In favor.
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmely.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor.
Student Trustee Kunze.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. And we come to number 8, the Director's remarks. Director?
Thank you, Chair Clement. I would be remiss to let this meeting slip away without recognizing an individual who has been essential to our board for many years now. As Superintendent of Business, Dennis Basnet plays a critical role in leading our facilities, information services, and finance departments. He ensures that we are fiscally responsible, managing our budget, and our annual budget process. He has certainly earned our respect for his calm, steady approach and the thoroughness he brings to his role. Superintendent Basnet has supported the chair and vice chair, all trustees, executive council, and our school administrators in countless ways throughout his tenure with the board. He is well versed in all aspects within the scope of his work and has been integral to the board's success. Above and beyond his strengths, he has shared and the sound advice he has brought our team, our schools, and the board. Dennis, as we know, is an all-around wonderful person. He is kind and compassionate. He genuinely cares about the people he works with and the students that we serve. As a full-time employee, this is Dennis's last board meeting. Next week, he'll be retiring from full-time employment after more than 40 years of dedicated service in the public and private sectors. We will not be saying goodbye just yet, as there's a bit more time in the new year dedicated to transition planning. And after that, he will be able to dedicate his full-time efforts to a growing to-do list at home. I'm very grateful to Dennis, as I'm sure we all are, for his hard work, care, dedication, and commitment to Rainbow Schools. Sincere thanks, Dennis. We wish you a very happy retirement filled with family, friends, and fun. You deserve the very best life has to offer. Congratulations. I'd also like to once again welcome our new superintendent, Adam Gilbo, to our team. He is our incoming superintendent of business. We're very fortunate to have him assume the role, and we know he's working very hard already, and he'll do great things for Rainbow for years to come. And finally, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Board of Trustees, Executive Council, our school administrators, our teachers, and all of our support staff for the incredible work that each and every one of them does every single day. A well-earned break is just around the corner, and I wish everyone a restful, safe, fun-filled holiday season. We look forward to continuing our good work on behalf of students in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. And I too, if I can speak for the board, Dennis, has been a pleasure knowing you, and good luck in your retirement. Thank you. And you beat me by 2 years. I had 38 years. You're dedicated. We go to now number 9, other items, OSPA Director.
This is going to be a long one, sorry. I attended a 2 days of meetings in Toronto on November 27th and 28th. First, a board meeting on November 27th with the Board of Directors. OPSPA has posted a link to OPSPA Connects, which highlights a number of items that were on our November 27th meeting agenda. However, the actual meeting really focused on 3 main items: labor relations, which was discussed in camera, a study completed by lawyer Anthony Brown at OPSPA's request regarding the duties and powers of trustees with respect to masking mandates called by boards. And I will forward his study to Cindy to send out to trustees as an FYI. And lastly, preparations for the OPSPA Advocacy Day held the next day at the legislature. I will speak more about Advocacy Day a little later, and it was a very, very long meeting. Most of the other agenda items that are identified in OPSPA Connects were deferred or acknowledged as reports received. Couple of things, though, from the Board of Directors meeting that I would like to share. This was Executive Director Rusty Hicks' last board meeting, a lot of retirements. And so we did spend some time acknowledging and thanking him for his leadership and hard work over the past 6 years. Secondly, Rusty informed us that there was a higher turnover of trustees this last election, 50% as compared to 43% in the last election. And this time, about 20% of the trustees were acclaimed. Thirdly, digital copies of the OESC Good Governance Guide are expected very soon. This is especially of importance to new trustees. There will be hard copies available at PES in January. And fourth, OPSPA is developing a fact sheet for trustees to address misinformation related to equity, diversity, and inclusion. The next day, so November 28th, I attended the OPSPA Advocacy Day at Queen's Park. It was fabulous, just fabulous. This event was held at the Legislative Assembly building at Queen's Park. The purpose of the Advocacy Day was to share OPSPA's priorities with MPPs and their staff and to bring awareness to OPSPA's advocacy efforts. The last Advocacy Day was held in 2019, and I'm guessing there's about 40 trustees that attended. The day started with a media release highlighting public education issues as indicated in the survey completed by Nanos Research, and a link to the survey results has been sent to all trustees by OPSPA. Trustees had a busy day. We had scheduled appointments with MPPs throughout the day. I met with 2 MPPs. Some trustees met with up to 4. We attended question period, which is interesting. I'll just leave it at that. And then there was an informal reception with trustees and MPPs during the late afternoon. And unfortunately, I had to miss this event to catch my plane. OPSPA provided trustees with backgrounders on 3 issues to present to MPPs. Those issues were student transportation, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and capital projects. However, I chose to speak to MPPs about northern solutions to northern problems. Bob. And I also spoke to them about children's mental health, which is a rather significant issue here in Northern Ontario, and one that has been raised at our own board table on several occasions by our mental health leads. I had an opportunity to raise these issues with 2 MPPs and 1 MPP aide. MPPs Franz Jelinas, who graciously met with myself and trustee Ryan Sitch from Lakehead District School Board, even though she wasn't scheduled to do so, and she was already quite busy. MPP Nolan Quinn, who's the Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Children, Community and Social Services, and aide to MPP Mike Mantha. So we spoke to MPP Mike Mantha's aide because we were supposed to meet with Mike, but he was sick that day. I want to thank these 3 people for their interest and attention and for sharing some great suggestions with us. All in all, it was a fabulous day, and I thank OPSPA for organizing it. And if you get an opportunity to attend, please do so. It's incredible to see the legislature. I worked for government for 34 years, never got a chance to go into Queen's Park. It's an incredible building. The MPPs were very receptive, and it was just a fabulous day. Our next board of directors meeting is in February, and that's all for me.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmony. I'm really glad that you did advocate for the North again. We talked about that, and I did advocate in McCarroll when our MPP was doing the rounds, and that's all we talked about was advocating for the North. Student trustee.
Right. My internet has been cutting in and out, so I'm sorry if it cuts out, but I think it should hold. So first of all, Darcy wanted just to say she sends in her regrets and she wishes she could be here, but she's feeling under the weather. And I'll try and keep this brief because it's getting late. So schools have been up to all kinds of things. Students are doing lots of holiday activities. There's a lot of spirit weeks going on, different things. And also, as we heard earlier, food drives. So all the students on Student Senate last night when we met were quite excited about how those have been going. We're getting like specific numbers and things like that. So all of them were really excited about the progress. Manitoulin Secondary School just did a toy drive for Manitoulin Family Resources, and then students had the opportunity to go last Friday and like go shopping at Walmart and pick out all the toys, and then they delivered them to the food bank in person, which was really impactful. They also got a tour of the facilities of the Manitoulin Family Resources, which was really cool for them to see. So that was really good. There's a couple schools doing their first open houses of the year, which is awesome, and the students are excited to be participating in those again with the extracurriculars. Lots of sports going on, friendly competition between schools for all kinds of things, from Reach from the Top to basketball to all kinds of things. So there's that. In upcoming things with student leadership, we talked a lot yesterday about menstrual equity and period products. As we move into the new year, that is going to be a Student Senate focus for January and February. Darcy and I, when we went to our fall general meeting with Osta ACO, we learned from Ophia a little bit about the menstrual health education program and planning. So we wanted to bring some of that back to the Senate and all work within schools as well as information-based. So our plans is to make a video or some kind of means to share what resources are available for menstruators in schools, done by students. So it's, destigmatizing it a little bit. And then also we're going to be doing fundraisers throughout all the schools for period products that can go home with students. So they are provided in schools right now, but a lot of times students, need more than that, and they don't have the money or the time to get products. So we want to help with that so students can pick up, like 10 or 12 products at a time. And so that'll be us around January, February. And then also in February, Student Senate's hoping to do a senior Valentine's cards campaign during one of our meetings and drop them off because it falls right before Valentine's Day. So we want to do that and deliver them to different nursing homes in Sudbury, Manitoulin, and Espanola. Other than that, all the students are excited about the holidays. General consensus is everyone's excited to relax, but exams are stressing people out as well. So that has been a point of interest for our Student Senate and how we can help address that, because I mean, it is some students' first time taking exams or taking hard exams, and those are coming pretty fast after the Christmas break. So that will be something we'll be looking to help with, because I know it's a stressor for lots of students. And I think that's pretty much everything from the student trustee report. But yeah, if you ever have any questions about stuff going on with Senate, you can feel free to reach out to Darcy and I. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Quincy. Where do you find the time? You sound busy as anything. Trustees' remarks. Do we have any? Trustee Morrison.
Thank you, Chair Clement. It's always difficult following someone who's so fantastic. Thank you, Jocelyn. Very detailed updates you give on behalf of the Student Senate, so thank you very much. We've got a long meeting, and I'm still getting now distracted by that wonderful future Rainbow District School Board student that's sitting on my screen on the right-hand corner. Hi, Violet.
No, I'm talking to somebody else.
Oh, sorry, Bob. My comment's going to be very brief. I just want to wish everyone, as this is our last board meeting before the holidays, I want to wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. And my simple wish for us all is that we are in a position to give tons of love and to receive the same. So I wish that for all of us this Christmas season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and the last comment to Director Bourget, I just want to say, I hope to see next year's Christmas telethon back on the stage at Sudbury Secondary. Thank you.
That was great. Trustee Farrell.
I just want to take a couple of minutes to echo what Dina said and say thank you very much to each and every one of you. As a new trustee, you've made me feel so welcome, and I've learned so much in the last few weeks. So it's been great working with each and every one of you, and I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very happy holiday season, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I can't wait to get things going in the new year.
Thank you. Trustee Dewar.
I thank you very much, but I didn't have my hand up, but Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you. I wish you all the best in 2023.
Thank you. Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Clement. I just wanted to thank everybody from Rainbow Schools that took part in the CTV Christmas Telethon. Right from the very top, our Director of Education was there answering the phones, and I was there in and out with my child performing in the Algonquin Road Public School Senior Choir, and while I was there I saw Chelmsford Valley District Composite School, I saw Sudbury Secondary, so there was lots of representation from Rainbow, and everybody did a fantastic job, and a great time was had by all and lots of money raised, so thank you very much for your contributions.
It's nice to see that participation.
Way to spend your weekends, so
Yeah.
thank you.
For sure. Trustee Honda.
Just quickly, I too want to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas for those that celebrate. Please may you all stay healthy and happy, enjoy time with family, and I hope you all take some time to rest. Seems to me it's been a whirlwind since September, and I think we all kind of, and particularly to our staff, admin, Director Bourget, you know that I'm always on your case, like the old lady, Mummy Jude, that take some time to rest and relax, please. We need you. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you, Trustee Honda. Anybody else? We come to the chair's remarks. As we head into the festive season, one of the most wonderful times of the year in Rainbow Schools, staff and students are spreading cheer and goodwill in many ways with canned food drives, winter clothing campaigns for families in need, acts of kindness, carols and concerts, turkeys and trimmings, Santa and Spirit Days. A detailed list of the fantastic things happening in Rainbow Schools will be available soon at rainbowschools.ca. Kindergarten information nights. Do you have a child starting school this fall? Elementary school in Sudbury, Espanola, Manitoulin will host in-person information nights for families on Wednesday, January the 11th at 5:30 p.m. for the English program, and Thursday, January 12th at 5:30 p.m. for schools offering English and French immersion. All parents, guardians, and children are welcome. Secondary information nights. Secondary schools have already begun hosting in-person information nights. We have 2 taking place this Thursday, December the 8th, Confederation Secondary School at 6 p.m. and Lockerbie Composite School at 7 p.m. In the new year, Sudbury Secondary School will host an information night on January 11th at 7 p.m. Llewellyn Park will host an information night January the 12th at 7 p.m. CVDCS will host an info night on January 18th at 6 p.m. Visit rainbowschools.ca for a complete list of schools, dates, and times for the information nights that have already taken place. There is still time to register. Parent Involvement Committee. The Parent Involvement Committee will meet next Tuesday, December the 13th at 7 p.m. The presentation topic is on a de-streaming in grade 9. There's a lot of questions about that. Christmas break, a friendly reminder that the Christmas break will soon be upon us. Schools will be closed from December 19th to December the 30th, respectively. Monday, January 2nd is a holiday. Schools will reopen on Tuesday, January the 3rd, 2023, already. Days of significance. Rainbow School Boards continues to highlight and celebrate days of significance and events on its Facebook page. And my quote this month takes me back where I began, with all the wonderful things happening in Rainbow Schools. W.C. Jones once said, "The joy of brightening other lives becomes for us the magic of the holidays." And this quote is certainly appropriate for our staff and students who touch hearts in truly special ways at this time of the year and make us so proud to be part of Rainbow Schools. I would like to share a caption from the Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg, and the movie is starring Tom Hanks. "Seeing is believing, but sometimes the most real things in the world are the things we cannot see." On behalf of the board, I wish all the students and staff, parents, guardians, and community partners a safe and happy holiday season. May 2023 bring you the peace and joy. Thank you. We go to G. Information and proposals, reports from officials and staff. We have none. No staff, non-staff communications. And in your H piece, you have your future meetings coming up. And there's a few this month and into the new year. Now we have adjournment. We need a mover, please. Trustee Farrell. Seconder, Trustee Honda. See, I haven't forgotten you. All in favor? Have a good Christmas, everybody. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.